What's going on YouTube? What's going on Facebook? I appreciate you guys so much for being here. I got about 15 headlines in my hands today. I'm going to read a bunch to start. And also, I just want to say I had a great week, and I guess every week is crazy. It seems like this one's crazier than others, but I think that's just the way the world is now. So as I was gone, a lot of stuff happened. I'm just going to read some stuff out. So thank you guys for coming in. Thank you for being here. And that's what it is. So I'll just read a few headlines, and then I'm going to go through them the whole time because I missed a lot. So I screenshotted like 20. This is Reuters. It says Australian military to help enforce Sydney COVID-19 lockdown as cases rise. That's very creepy. I guess the military is helping the Australia lockdown, and they're trying to get about 80% people vaccinated. This is from WTTW, which looks like a PBS offshoot. It says Lollapalooza rocks Chicago. COVID-19 cases rise. Governor reimposes mask mandates for state facilities. I thought that's a funny headline because Lollapalooza is like hundreds of thousands of people at a show, which is awesome. I love seeing people at a concert, but isn't it a little bit weird that they're letting hundreds of thousands of people go to a concert and they're like, go enjoy yourself. I guess COVID takes a vacation or something. That's a joke. Don't fact check me, Facebook, please. Calm down. But in general, it's like, yeah, just, party with hundreds of thousands of people. And then next week, we're going to put the mask mandate. And that's the science. COVID is on summer break, I guess. It likes to party hard too. Just kidding. Mark Zuckerberg and your friends, please don't steal everything from me again. I appreciate what I have. Please don't take it. So that's it. Lollapalooza is going on in Chicago now, and then they're putting some sort of like a statewide mask mandate for state facilities. Very cool. This is the New York Times right here. Our favorite, the trusted New York Times. We love them here. Breaking news, the Delta variant is as contagious as the chickenpox and may be spread by vaccinated people as easy as unvaccinated, an internal CDC report said. So all hell broke loose when, I joke and I call people vaccine supremacists. I don't care what people do. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a health advisor. I don't pretend to be. But in general, I call people vaccine supremacists when they say, I'm better than you. I get to take my mask off. Like 2 weeks ago, before I left for my mini vacation, people were like, I got it, so I get to take my mask off. And then the experts tell them that they should put their mask back on too. So although I don't like to have a twisted sense of humor, but I found it very entertaining that they joined the ranks of me last week when the CDC said that they should put a mask on too. That really threw people in for a loop. Wasn't that interesting? We'll get more into that story. This is CNN. The very, very, very highly respected people over there, like Don Lemon and, the Cuomos, et cetera. CNN, it says, vaccination alone won't stop the rise of variants. In fact, it could push the evolution of strains that evade protection, researchers warned. They said people need to wear masks and take other preventative steps until almost everyone is vaccinated. Once again, Mark Zuckerberg and his little buddies. I know Mark Zuckerberg doesn't give a crap about me. It's the people who work there. He's on an island with an American flag in Hawaii or something. But this is CNN who said this. I'm going to read it again, and then we're going to get to the next headline. It says, vaccination alone won't stop the rise of variants and, in fact, could push the evolution of strains that evade protection. Wowzers. CNN said that, not me. I can't believe they have the gall. Jay said, thank you for coming to chat on YouTube. I didn't use Facebook or Insta. What's up, Jay? Thanks for the super chat. This next one is from Reuters. It says Pfizer says 2021 COVID-19 vaccine sales to top 33.5 billion sees the need for boosters. Isn't that just awesome? Congratulations, Pfizer. We're all in this together. They made $33.5 billion, or they're expecting to, in revenue, and they see the need of boosters. I bet Ford sees the need of, driving Ford trucks as well. Congratulations for that 33.5 billion number. We're all in this together. Hashtag. Where's my check? I think I only got like $600 or something, but whatever. I'm still grateful. Inflation, I guess, whatever. At least I got $600. This real quick right here. I know you guys can see this on YouTube. Facebook, you can't, but this is opensecrets.org, and this is a website that tracks lobbying money. And I found it interesting. Someone sent this to me, and I checked it myself, and it is true. The number one, this is 2019, 2020. These are recipients from pharmacy and health lobbyists. Number one is Joe Biden at $8.2 million. Big surprise. And number two, even more surprising, is Donald J. Trump with $2.5 million. So isn't that interesting that he is on that list, and Bernie Sanders as well, and that John Ossoff guy. But, the top two biggest recipients, according to Open Secrets, for pharmacy, lobbying, and health is Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So Did you vote for Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson last election, or did you vote for Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson? I voted for Trump, so I voted for Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna. I'm glad I had a choice. Breaking 9/11, it says that's some like news thing on Twitter. It said DC will require masks indoors for all people over 2 starting Saturday, regardless of vaccination status. And then there's a picture there. I don't know if you can see her, but that's the DC mayor with Dave Chappelle, who I love. DC mayor celebrates birthday maskless hours before new mandate kicks in. You know how COVID-19 do. It's like, one day you're indoors hanging out with Dave Chappelle. The next day is mask mandate time. I guess, I'm joking when I say this, and I don't want to get my page demonetized, but maybe COVID likes to party hard. Maybe it likes to party with Dave Chappelle and go to Lollapalooza. And then on Monday, it's like, you know what? Listen, I'm hungover. I can't party like that all the time. Maybe me and COVID we have a lot in common. I'm just kidding. Please don't take away my money. This is from Arkansas Online. It's some sort of Arkansas newspaper. And this is the last one. Then we're going to start it up. Thank you guys for being here. It says former White House press secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders calls COVID-19 vaccines the Trump vaccine in an opinion piece published to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. So apparently Sarah Huckabee Sanders has been going around Arkansas, one of the least vaccinated states, telling people to get the Trump vaccine. Interesting. I'm not legally allowed to have an opinion on that, or else I'll get my revenue taken. No, I'm just kidding. But we'll talk about it later. This is Piers Morgan, my guy, who I think I called like a piece of trash or something, probably worse, on Twitter yesterday. But this was him, I guess, on July 27th. He tweeted, this is Piers Morgan, our favorite great British guy, or however you call British people. Sorry, very ignorant. It says, those who refuse to be vaccinated with no medical reason not to should be refused NHS care if they then catch COVID. I'm hearing of anti-vaxxers using up ICU beds in London at vast expense to the taxpayer. Let them pay for their own stupidity and selfishness. So just a few days ago, he's saying, if you don't get vaccinated, you shouldn't even get the health care that I get. And this is him on July 31st. Karma is a you-know-what. Day 18 since COVID symptoms started and still have shocking fatigue and little taste smell. Anyone else who got virus after being fully vaccinated having the same journey? Let me guys know in the comments if you're having the journey that Piers is. He got vaccinated and he's been, feeling symptoms for 18 days. Sorry to hear that, Piers. It sucks that you're such an asshole and you try to kick unvaccinated people out of the health facility. Anyway. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to start cracking into the headlines. And I want to say a few things real quick. I took a little trip. My friend had some time off from work and he said, I've always wanted to go to Colorado, go whitewater rafting. So I did. I went to Colorado, beautiful state. I went to Breckenridge. It was beautiful. I went to Colorado Springs. I went to Pikes Peak, Garden of the Gods. I whitewater raft for the first time. It was epic. I had a great week. And I have to say I'm blessed and fortunate because I don't just take off work. I scheduled posts and I was posting a little bit. I think I had more views than I've had all year in that week. So I scheduled a bunch of posts and it looks like a lot of my old videos are blowing up. So even though I was away from the computer, apparently my numbers are like higher than they ever were. God is great. I'm so grateful for what I do. I'm grateful for you being here. And I'm grateful that when I take a break, I apparently do even better than when I'm here. So maybe I'll take more breaks because it's nice. I mean, honestly, I was like, wow, I thought I was going to be coming back to like low numbers and it's like through the roof. I'm like, what happened? I'm almost like nervous. Anytime my numbers get too high, I'm like, is there going to be a smear article about me? Are they going to start tweeting about me? Because they don't like when I do well. Let's start real quick with this. Reuters said Australian military to help enforce Sydney COVID-19 lockdown as cases rise. That's just creepy. I mean, this used to be a conspiracy theory like 10 years ago. People were like martial law, FEMA camps, Walmart. Like this is things I heard growing up on YouTube and stuff. And I'm always thinking to myself, the military would never turn against the people. And now you have Australia, the military is enforcing the lockdown. And I guess the leader there, whatever they call him, the prime minister, is talking about wanting 80% vaccination. It's just creepy. And I want to say this, God bless military members and police. But my personal opinion is if you're enforcing lockdown on your own people as a police officer or military member, I think you're on the wrong side of history. And it's just crazy. I mean, at what point are people going to realize that this is too much? It's not healthy. It's not safe. There's economic impacts. There's mental health impacts. There's physical health impacts. There's all sorts of impacts. And I do want to say this. I don't want to be dramatic, but Mao Zedong killed tens of millions of people. Mao Zedong, one of the ways he killed people was not glorious. It was starvation. That's why I think they don't make a lot of Hollywood movies about it. And for other reasons, I think the people in Hollywood kind of share the same philosophy and ideology that he did. So in general, it's not all about, well, let's just do this for a couple of years. It's like, you don't want to mess up the food supply. You don't want to mess up the supply chain. You certainly don't want to mess up your currency. There's been hyperinflation in the past in Germany, Venezuela. So I don't know what'll happen. I pray for Australia like I pray for America. But this idea that lockdowns are going to go from 15 days to 2 years, and now the military is enforcing it in Australia. God bless my friends in Australia. And it's just disgraceful. I don't agree with it on multiple levels. And I've said that many times. So let's move on. It says Lollapalooza rocks Chicago as COVID-19 cases rise. Governor reimposes mask mandate for state facility. This is just something I find fascinating. I'm gonna ask a question. This pandemic is so bad. They tell us how terrible is it. It's so terrible that they're gonna allow hundreds of thousands of people to go to Lollapalooza this week. I mean, the crowds are enormous, and I'm glad that they are. To be honest, I'm glad people are out having fun. And it's like, okay, go meet with 300, 400,000 people, whatever the numbers are. And then next week, we're going to impose the mask mandate. It's like, does COVID take a nap on the weekends? Does COVID go to Lollapalooza, or does it like fly to Africa or something on the weekends and come back to America? Like, you get what I'm saying? This is about as scientific as, hey, wear a mask, sit down at your table and take your mask off. Am I a super spreader for 5 seconds? I walk into a restaurant. It's like, whoa. And then I take it off. I'm like, hey, can I get, can I get some lemonade? Like, That's not how things work. So I don't mind science. I don't mind being protective and safe. But at a certain point, you have to ask yourself, what's going on? Like, how in the world are they going to allow 400,000 people to congregate? And then on Monday, as if it's got like a starting date, like, oh, well, now, it's the time, but not now. It's like, come on, people. And I know a lot of people are starting to realize this, because I know a lot of people that got vaccinated because they got threatened by their job. I know a lot of people who got vaccinated because they felt like it was the safe thing to do. And I know a lot of people who got vaccinated because they wanted to travel and be left alone by everybody screaming at them. So a lot of these people are disappointed because they got the vaccine so you'd leave them alone. And all of a sudden now they're not being left alone. They're being told, put your mask back on. You know how, mentally abusive that is for these people? A lot of people are waking up. They're like, I didn't do all this in order to be treated the same way I was last year. And to the people who were being nice to me, I say, God bless you. I'm sorry that happened. And to the vaccine supremacists who were acting like they were a first-tier citizen and I was going to be like a slave and a peasant for the rest of my life, who are now shocked that they're on the same level as me. Oh, no, the experts told me the same thing they told you last week. It's like, this is what I've been trying to say the whole time. I really do. I wish that I could just listen to the CDC and they'd give me my freedom back. I wish 15 days to slow the spread really was 15 days to slow the spread. I wish Trump was telling the truth and Fauci was telling the truth and Democrats were telling. I wish that were the case. I wish that scientifically I could say, as soon as you listen to what they tell you to do, that they're going to give you everything back. It's just not the case. And it's been 100 examples. So the more you give, it's like the more they take. It's like having a relationship with a friend, with a worker, with a boss, whoever it is in your life. It's like, you get what you give, or, whatever you allow them to take. So it's like, when you move that line, it's not like, oh, we're going to get our freedom back now that we gave the federal government and the local governments all this power. It's like, once you move that line, that's the line that they have. And they think, I can keep doing it. Like, they don't need to appease you because you've already given them that room. So I see it exactly the opposite. And shout out to Chris Sky, I think from Canada, who said this very profoundly, and his video keeps going viral, where he's like, people think complying gets you your freedom back. In reality, the more you comply, the more they take. I wish it weren't that way. I really do. But that does seem to be a trend. And 15 days to slow the spread is now lasting a year and a half. All these people got vaccinated just to be told to put the mask back on. This is crazy stuff, folks. All right. New York Times, the Pulitzer Prize winning journalists over there, respect. New York Times said, breaking news, the Delta variant is as contagious as the chicken pox and may be spread by vaccinated people as easily as the unvaccinated, an internal CDC report said. They followed up on that because it went viral and people were like, what? There's a funny video of Michael Rappaport. Maybe I'll find it and play it, because he's like, I got the vaccine. I'm supposed to be a hero. I'm supposed to be a hero. Now you're saying I'm a super spreader. He's all pissed off because he's like, he's Mr. Vaccine. He's like, get it. You're going to kill everybody. And then he gets it. And then he's been being told that he can spread it too. Everyone's getting the vaccine, hoping that it means that they're, more protected, which I think, they're still saying they are. But I don't think a lot of people got the vaccine to put a mask back on. So they're starting to get pissed off. But the New York Times followed up on that and said Delta variant infections in vaccinated people are rare compared with those who are unvaccinated, the internal report said, but vaccinated people with a breakthrough infection may spread the virus just as easily. So they're basically saying if you get infected, you could spread it as well. So it's time to put a mask back on. I just have to say this, as a tax-paying citizen, my question is this. If I make a product, right, whether it's for flu or COVID-19 or common cold or whatever, you could talk about any disease, any virus, any contagion. If I make a product, aren't I supposed to take the responsibility if something else happens? Like, they're trying to blame us and blame people for the fact that there's variants. But if you look at things like the flu, if you look at the history of antibiotics, they've always said the more you use antibiotics, there's going to be strains that are resistant to the antibiotics. And people and doctors and researchers have been warning about this for decades, saying antibiotics are great for now, but eventually there's going to be resistant strains from the medicine. That's like common, science that everybody understands. So if you make this product and say it's going to be all effective, and it's not even been 3, 4, 5 months, and the Israel data says it's not against the Delta variant, is it everybody else's fault that it's not effective against the Delta variant as much as you thought it was? Or is it your fault, Pfizer and Moderna, who are making billions upon tens of billions of dollars in booster shots? And is it everyone else's fault? Or is it like time to go back to the drawing board and figure out a different thing? Like, I'm tired of them blaming everyone else. Well, there's a variant, so it's everyone else's fault. It's like, maybe you should have planned for that, because it's not like the first time that a virus has mutated. It's not like this is like we landed on Mars or something and found water. So it's just crazy, the fact that people put up with this crap. But anyway, let's move on to our friends at CNN. CNN said vaccination alone won't stop the rise of variants, and in fact, could push the evolution of strains that evade protection, researchers warned. So this is CNN, what Thomas Massey was talking about last week and what I was talking about a week ago, which is saying, like, I'm going to read it again because I can't say this, but CNN apparently can. It says vaccination alone won't stop the rise of variants, and in fact, could push the evolution of strains that evade protection. So they're saying it actually could make it so there's new strains that evade it. And I'm not the biggest researcher in the world when it comes to vaccines and medicine, but I do pay attention. I do research. I do read. And for decades, I've learned this since I was a kid. I remember my mom telling me this. I remember scientists and health professionals telling me this, that eventually the medicine that we take is going to create super strains because it's going to become resistant to the medicine. So when they start blaming everybody for the variants, we should ask ourselves a serious question. First of all, can we trust these people because they keep lying? But in general, if we can trust these people, are they honest enough to tell us where these variants came from? Because in other medications, it's not like the people who aren't taking the medication are creating the super strain. It's like the people who are taking the medication create the super strain. That's called the history of antibiotics. And you could find hundreds, if not thousands, of scientists, virologists, etc., telling you exactly that antibiotics are working great now, but they've been scared for decades, thinking that eventually there are going to be certain strains, mutant variants, etc., that evade the medicine because they have built themselves against it over the course of time. So if that happens with antibiotics, am I supposed to think that that doesn't happen with these and that I'm to be blamed or other people to be blamed? Just a question to ask. And that's what CNN said. Very interesting stuff. Talk to your local doctor who hopefully isn't paid off and, get advice from him, not me. Reuters. These are my buddies. We're all in it together, folks. We're all doing the same thing. You lock down, they make $30 billion. No big difference there. Reuters said, Pfizer says 2021 COVID-19 vaccine sales to top $33.5 billion, and they see the need for a booster shot. They're seeing so many profits and so much revenue, and they see the need for a booster shot. And Ford says you should buy Ford. And Wonder Bread says you should buy Wonder Bread. And Got Milk says you should drink milk for your bones. I've never heard of a company who thinks that their product should keep being used. I guess I'm supposed to pretend like for this product that couldn't possibly happen. That's great for them. I guess there's going to be boosters whenever they figure it out, maybe every year. It'd be interesting to see how many people want to get the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the seventh. And, at what point, if you stop getting it or you choose to stop getting it, are they going to force it on you, or are they going to take away your vaccinated status? Interesting stuff. But Reuters said that Pfizer says 2021 COVID-19 vaccine sales to top $33.5 billion. Hashtag, we're all in this together. This next one, I checked it. I have it up here. I don't know exactly what news station this is from, so I had to look it up because I don't just blindly share stuff. So I looked up opensecrets.org, which I've known about for a while. Opensecrets.org keeps track of lobbying money, and a lot of this stuff is public. Like I'm not sure exactly how it works, but when it comes to politics, a lot of this stuff is transparent and they keep records. So Open Secrets does that. And it says pharmaceuticals and health products, these are the top lobbying recipients of 2019, 2020, I believe. It says Joe Biden received $8.2 million from Big Pharma and health. So he was the number one recipient. Number two was Donald J. Trump with $2.5 million in lobbying money from pharmaceuticals and health products. And third, believe it or not, was Bernie Sanders, who acts like he's Mr. Anti-Establishment. Isn't that just interesting? Trump and Bernie, the two anti-establishment guys, are number 2 and 3 behind Joe Biden for pharmacy and health product recipient in 2020. And I just have to say this, people get so upset when I say certain things because, when it comes to Trump and pharmacy, I know a lot of people think he was draining the swamp or whatever, but he hired Alex Azar for HHS, who was a pharma lobbyist. And it seemed like early on, he kind of went the direction of lobbyists, but then he also did things like he lowered drug prices, insulin. He did a lot of great things, no question. But with the COVID-19 stuff, he turned into from a vaccine skeptic that he was before he got into office to a full-blown vaccine salesman. And I call him, I made up nicknames because I think it's funny. Sorry if it offends you. I call him, Don, the vaccine salesman Trump. I call him Grandpa Moderna. I think that's a funny one, Grandpa Moderna, Orange Man Sale. I'm just having fun with it. But anyway, he turned into a vaccine salesman, and everybody who loves him, they want to act like he's playing 5-dimensional chess. Like I've heard, like, dude, you don't understand. He's fighting Bill. He's not fighting Bill Gates. Bill Gates backed Moderna like 4 years ago. He's funneling money and power to these pharmacy companies. That's just what he's doing. Maybe you like that type of thing. Me, I'm not a big fan of that, but maybe you are. Whatever. It's like the theories that people are coming up with to try to justify why Trump did it. I think I have it right here, folks. Open Secret says that Trump took $2.5 million from Big Pharma. So maybe he's just a little bit like other politicians. Maybe he takes money, maybe he takes influence, and maybe he just doesn't do exactly what you want him to do all the time. But maybe that's a sin on the altar of Donald Trump, and you can't say that. And people freak out and cry and say, oh my God, Anomaly changed so much. What's his deal? He was just at the rally. I'm not a clone. I'm not a liar. I'm not another one of these people who make my whole identity about it. The reason people watch my videos before and now is because I do good reporting. My first Trump video, it was not MAGA hat, build a wall. I've been a Trump fan my whole life and a conservative. It was an honest piece where I said, I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I voted for Green Party. I was never conservative, but here's why Donald Trump is not that bad. Here's why the liberals and the left are overreacted about how bad he is. And that got like 20, 30 million views. It was because I was never acting like that. And it's no disrespect. I don't care who you are, but these people try to tear me down and say, oh my God, Anomaly's a grifter, Anomaly's a flip-flopper. It's like I've been skeptical of Big Pharma since I was 18 years old. So, Trump took money just like Biden took money. He just took less money. And he ended up going from a vaccine skeptic to a vaccine salesman. So you can agree with that. But I find that, before I move on, politics is like a sports game where it's like you have two teams, right? Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, Democrats versus Republican. I'm, disclosure, a registered Republican right now. I wasn't always, but I did 2 years ago. And to be honest, I'm going to stay so I can vote in the party for the candidates I want. I'm a registered Republican. I go harder on Republicans because that is now my party. Clearly, the left is not doing anything I want them to do, so I focus on my team. And when I call out Ted Cruz, I get results. When I call out Larry Elder, I get results. I don't do it to be mean. That's what you should do as a tax-paying citizen. You should hold your party accountable because eventually the Republicans become just Democrats light, and it becomes a uniparty where they're both doing Big Pharma, where they're both emboldened by foreign countries, and they care more about foreign countries than they do you. That happens because everybody's fighting the left. That's all you see when you watch all these Republicans. They're fighting the left all the time. They're pointing at the left. The left is going insane, and it is funny, sad, disappointing. It could be comedy, it could be tragedy, but that's why I cover other things, just for the record, because at a certain part, it becomes a uniparty, and even your idols in politics are, at the end of the day, just politicians sometimes. So I don't do this because I'm trying to be edgy or turn, or I'm doing it for ratings. It's like, look into certain things. And sometimes when you're cheering on your team so hard, you don't see the unfortunate truth of what it is versus what you want it to be. For a while, I wanted to believe that all this stuff was happening. And then the more I look at it and the more I open my eyes, I'm like, not only did it not happen, but I think I know why it didn't happen, because all of these ideas of not taking money from these people didn't seem to really pan out in certain areas. And I'm not blaming him. I'm not saying the whole world is his fault. I'm just saying I found that very fascinating. And I think more and more people are going to wake up to that reality as time goes on. And just real quick, when I do things about Republicans, I see results quickly. Like, they're so used to blaming the left, right? The left, if you look at the left, they fundraise off of Donald Trump. They say, oh my God, Orange Man bad. Charlottesville. Oh my God, January 6th. Oh my God, like, give me money. Black Lives Matter, give me money. They're constantly in chaos, because the more the left is in chaos, their heads are ringing. They don't have time to like calm down and look at the truth. And if they calm down and look at the truth, no one would vote Democrat. So they have to keep people in a sense of fear and bugging out. That's the only way they get money. The right is a little different, but really it's the same thing. We're fighting the radical left. We're fighting the socialists. And it's like, holy crap, like, the country's turning socialist. I want to give money to them because they're fighting the socialists. But if you calm down and you rationally look at what happened last year, the right wing became socialist. They printed $2 trillion. They gave money like AOC and Andrew Yang, and nobody even noticed besides me. And I get in debates with people and they're like, you lost the debate. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's people are so into their team that they don't even realize that they're becoming what they hate. So that's why I hold Republicans accountable and go harder at them. It's not because I hate them. It's because that's how you get results. They love fighting the left, and you guys are pointing to the left, and then they become the left. They're taking lobbyist meetings. They're doing the same thing with the CDC. They're being like watered down versions of the left. And when it comes to this type of tyranny, I'm saying people really have to put their foot down, because we're always sliding away. That's my thoughts. Let me know yours. We'll move on. DC will require masks indoors for people over 2 starting Saturday. And this is a picture of Mayor Bowser. This is from the New York Post. You can see her right here with Dave Chappelle, funny guy. So it's like, does COVID have like a schedule? Because I'm not very organized. Maybe COVID's more organized than me. Does it have a schedule where it's like, today we're just gonna head over to Antarctica and chill out for the weekend? You hang out with Dave Chappelle indoor and don't wear a mask, but come Monday, you guys better have your masks on indoors, because COVID's going to be roaring. Like, does it have a schedule? Because if so, maybe I should have a chat with COVID, because I'm a little unorganized. I should be a little more organized. So, do people not get what's going on yet? It's like these people don't listen to their own rules. They think they're above you. It's like they're the master and you're the little peasant class. They're like, you guys stay indoors and go bankrupt. I'm going to go take a meeting at the French Laundry with a bunch of lobbyists, but you guys can't do this. I'm going to chill with Dave Chappelle for now. And then, Monday COVID's hitting hard. We got to just mask up. If it's so crazy, why wouldn't you do it 2 days ago? Do people not get this stuff yet? Tens of millions of people got vaccinated thinking they were going to be free, and now they're not free anymore. Well, I'm supposed to wear. I hope people are waking up, and I think they are. I think people are tired of this stuff, and I was in a liberal area of Colorado. I didn't see a single mask on an employee. If you're wearing a mask as an employee, know that there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of jobs in America that don't force mask you. I know a lot do, but I've traveled to Arizona. I've traveled to Colorado. I was in a liberal city, Breckenridge of Colorado, a liberal state, a liberal city. I didn't see one employee with a mask on. I'm talking employee. Every coffee shop, every hotel, no masks. So if your employer is forcing you to wear a mask, look outside the box and ask them why, when this is going to end, if they have a time date. Sometimes they don't even have a date. Isn't that creepy? I was in Texas one time. Was it Houston or Dallas? And they were trying to push a mask on me in Texas. And I said to her, when's the end date for the mask mandate? And she said, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I can't hear you, lady, but whatever. When's the end date for the mask mandate? She says, we don't know when the end date is. I'm like, isn't that creepy to you as an employee that you're wearing cloth over your breathing holes? I can't see your face. And you don't even know when you're going to take it off. How does the science, how does that fit? People don't think. So I'm just saying, sometimes I think people are going to be stuck this way forever if you comply now. I feel like that moves the line, but let me know what you think. This is the last one, which I find interesting. This is Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She's the darling of Fox News and the Republican Party. Former White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders calls COVID-19 vaccines the Trump vaccine in an opinion piece published by the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. So if you do your research, Arkansas is one of the least vaccinated states, so they're saying. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the freedom fighter in the Republican Party, is going around Arkansas, one of the least vaccinated states, and saying, get your Trump vaccine. Interesting. And Ron DeSantis, although he's doing a lot of great work, he's also, telling people that you virtually have no chance of dying if you get the vaccine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're pumping it hard. Trump, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Ron, pretty much all of them besides Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. They're all pumping it. Here's my thing. And I've been in many debates, et cetera. If this were a level playing field, right? If this were a perfect world and a level playing field, I don't care. I really don't. I don't care who gets what. I don't care how many pills you're on. I don't care how many vaccines you get. Why would I care? Why should I care? In a perfect world, I wouldn't care what Sarah Huckabee Sanders or Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis said, because everybody would be free to live their lives and do whatever medicine. That's how I live my whole life. I don't take any pills, okay? I work out, I exercise, I play sports. I've always been skeptical of Big Pharma, and I don't want to be on anything. And if I choose to get a shot, a vaccine, it's got to be for me. It can't be from pressure or threats or holding me for ransom and taking away my job. It's crazy. So that's the world we live in. Unfortunately, this isn't a perfect world. So for over a year now, I would say, I knew it in March, but it took people longer. That's fine. I've known they're trying to force vaccinate people. They are going to try to push this. They're going to try to take away your resources, and it's not optional. It hasn't been optional. It's never been optional. And this entire time, it's been forced. It's been bribed. It's been coerced. It's been, if you don't get this, you're going to be fired. It's, if you don't get this, you can't travel. If you don't get this, you can't go to the concert. It's been this way for a long time now. So people who try to tell me because they're Republicans, oh, well, it's just our choice, and Ron DeSantis and Sarah Huckabee, it's like, no, they're screwing you and they're screwing me, because right now the fight is in Australia, you're not allowed to be free unless 80% of you get the jab. That's not freedom. They're being held captive for ransom, as if like a foreign country is holding them, saying, get it, and then you could be free. That's not freedom. In America, it's not as bad, but they are doing this. So this is my thinking. In a perfect world, I don't care if 95% of people are vaccinated. But in this world, unfortunately, the more people who get it, a lot of people, not everybody, I know people who got it who say, I don't care if you get it. But a lot of people turn into vaccine supremacists. And then they look at people who didn't get it and say, well, yeah, I got it. Why can't you get it? And I've had people look at me, I'm not going to name names, but people who don't even take care of themselves, and that doesn't matter to me on a normal playing field, but look at me and act like I'm a slave, a peasant, or a second-tier citizen, like they're like, Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime or something. Like, I deserve to take off my mask, but you can't take your mask off. And I'm like looking at this, I'm like, are you kidding me? That's what I call a vaccine supremacist. I'm like, you think you're better than me? It's like, first of all, there's a lot of things going on in this country: heart disease, diabetes, et cetera, cancer, which you can't really prevent, but in general, maybe you can. I don't know. I don't mean to misspeak, but you get what I'm saying. There's all sorts of these things where it's like, just because you took a shot from Pfizer or Moderna, it doesn't make you the healthiest person on the planet. But anyway, the more people who get it, the more people who sit and look at you and say, well, it's fine if you lose access to society. And it's bigger than just people who didn't get the jab. If you give that up, if you give up that right to say, I can be locked down for 3 months and you can hold me for ransom over a medicine product, do you think they're not going to do this again? Do you think they're not going to push the boundary more? You have to put your foot down and say at a certain point, no. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing that. Thomas Massie is doing that. Donald Trump is not. Sarah Huckabee Sanders are not. Ron DeSantis is not. In some ways, DeSantis is. In other ways, he's not. So she's going to the least vaccinated state and saying, go get the Trump vaccine. If there's 35% of Arkansas that's unvaccinated, this is just my thought. Are they going to be able to put a vaccine passport there? Because they're trying to do that. This isn't a theory. This isn't a conspiracy theory. I'm not making this up. They're doing it in Europe. They're doing it in my county. They're doing it all over. They're putting the infrastructure together to do a digital vaccine passport, and they're bragging about it in the press. So that's what they're trying to do. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, they're doing that as you speak. So if enough people say no, they can't do that. We're free. We win. We're not prisoners and slaves for the rest of our lives. If enough people comply and go along with it, we're going to be stuck that way. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders going to the least jabbed place in America and telling them to get the Trump vaccine, that is just insane for our freedom. In a normal society, that's totally fine. If they weren't trying to enslave us and put us in a passport for the rest of our lives, it's totally, but that's what they're doing. So the more these people do this, we're libertarian, it's your right to the, no, they're screwing you over. Just like Donald Trump did with the CARES Act, just like they did with 15 days to slow the spread and the extension and all these games they're playing. Oh, well, he's just, doing his federal. It's like, no, he's the leader of the Republican Party. If he says jump, they say how high. If he says open up, they open up. If he says lock down, they lock down. He's the leader. Nobody passes without Donald Trump or the Republican Party. So a leader, it's like if Michael Jordan's not in a basketball game, well, he can't do anything. It's like he's still a leader. He could still sit in those meetings and say this or say that, and people listen to him. So people make excuses for piss poor leadership and people who are selling them out to big pharma because they think it's like a trendy thing to do, but that's exactly why they do it. They look at you and say, I can do this and people are still going to clap for me. I can do this and people aren't even going to notice I'm doing it. We're going to form a uniparty that serves a foreign country together and serves big pharma, and no one's even going to realize about it. So the more that they do that and the more that people clap, that's why I put up resistance. I got results, and I'm not saying it's just me. I called out Ted Cruz for his BS tweet about, mass segregation on airplanes. And I've heard, I didn't look, but he apparently deleted the tweet. So I heard, I would have to check to say, but that's what happens when you actually call out your people. You look at them and say, what are you doing? So to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, in a perfect world, that's totally fine. But if you get Arkansas to 60, 70, 80%, is the virus going to disappear? Probably not. If you read CNN and New York Times talking about how they can spread it too, is the digital vaccine passport that's going to screw us for generations going to go through easier if you do that, Sarah? Yeah, it is. So why do people clap for these people? I really don't understand. It's like she's going to go to the next TPUSA or whatever. We were, oh my God, she's my hero. Well, why is she your hero? Why are you idolizing somebody that's going to an area and telling people to get the Trump jab as they're putting digital passports through? I don't know. Maybe that makes sense to certain people. Like I said, I wish it were a perfect world because I don't care what people do. But the more that happens, the more they blame you. I didn't make the product. If I made Pfizer and Moderna's jab, I would take full responsibility for it. But they make it as if they've never heard of a variant before, like this is a new thing, like they just found Bigfoot. Oh my God, it's Bigfoot. It's the Delta variant. Look at the history of viruses, et cetera, coronaviruses. There's always been variants and mutations. This is like common science. And one pops up out of nowhere and they're like, I never thought that. That's your fault. Now you got to get, it's like, it's not your fault. If they make a it's like a, what's it called? Windex or Clorox or whatever. If you read it, it says 99.9, it kills 99.99% of viruses. It's like, that's what makes it effective. It's like if Clorox only killed like 30% of viruses and they're like, well, the 70%, it's your fault. It's like, that's not what Clorox, it's like, make a better product then that kills more variants. If you can do that, that's fine. In a free market, you should be able to get business. But this idea that they could hold us for ransom, lock us down, and force masks on our face for the end of time because their product, wasn't as effective as they thought it was going to be. It's unbelievable that people put up with this crap. This last one is from my buddy Piers Morgan, and when I say my buddy, I think he's a complete piece of trash, by the way. But we're just gonna pretend we're friends for this live stream. This is Piers Morgan on July 27th. He said, those who refuse to be vaccinated with no medical reason not to should be refused NHS care if they then catch COVID. I'm hearing of anti-vaxxers using up ICU beds in London at vast expense to the taxpayer. Let them pay for their own stupidity and selfishness. So on July 27th, he's saying, if you don't get jabbed, you shouldn't even get health care. This is only 4 days later. The nerve, he said this when he's sick himself. He said, day 18 since COVID symptoms started, and I still have shocking fatigue and a little taste and smell. Anyone else who got the virus after being fully vaccinated have the same journey? So anybody else have the same? I actually know multiple people who've had a journey similar to that, Piers. I know Jimmy Dore. If you follow him, he's a progressive like Bernie type guy, but he's not an anti-vaxxer. He's a pro-vaxxer. He loves vaccines. He got 2 shots of the Moderna, according to him. He was just on Joe Rogan. Check it out. Jimmy Dore, Joe Rogan. There's a YouTube clip of it. He's not an anti-vaxxer. He got the vaccine like Piers Morgan. He got 2 jabs and he's been sick for months. He's seeing a doctor right now because it's been months and his side effects haven't gotten away. He's been fatigued. He's felt horrible. He's had neck pain. I know multiple other people with injuries. This is not a theory that I'm making up in my head. This is not anti-vaxxer. This is pro-vaccine people who have real things. And Jimmy Dore said when he talked about it, he had doctors tell him they were experiencing the same things, but they're afraid to say it because it's such bad response from these liberals. Like if something happens, like if I take whatever and something happens to me, it's not about what I think is going to happen, whether I do this or do that. It's about what really happened. And if you care about your health or someone else's, whatever happens, you have to deal with. Life is not perfect. People get injured all the time. But there's so many people who are experiencing this stuff who are afraid to say it because the liberals are psychotic. They will destroy your life for telling a true story. I have many of them. This is not, and if anybody's watching this for Facebook and trying to say this is a real story, not the COVID ones, but another jab. I know a girl who's younger than me, maybe a couple years younger. I guess you would say a woman now. A girl might be ignorant, but you know, her arm is like paralyzed. It doesn't work anymore. They told her that it was some sort of injury because they put it in the wrong spot. And now she's trying to sue the government and she's finding out how hard it is because, you know, the NCVIA, the PrEP Act, et cetera, the companies who make the product have immunity from liability. The Pfizer, Moderna, no matter what your side effect or injury is, they're not liable. They have like, the government has like a side claim that you could do, and it's not easy to get intact. I know someone like that. I know people who are suffering, and I know people who are fine. That's just the reality of it. I'm not saying it happens to everybody. It can be rare, but I think with these ones, people feeling fatigued and getting sick seems to be pretty common, a lot more common than I've ever seen in my life. So this idea that you're not allowed to talk about it, this idea that they could force it on you, this idea that Piers Morgan is going to tell me that I don't live in the UK, but if I did, I shouldn't have access to healthcare. Meanwhile, he got the jab himself and he's saying day 18 of having, you know, COVID symptoms and I'm having fatigue. Listen, Piers, it's not a competition because I'm younger. I don't think I've been sick for 18 days since I've been 23 or 24. I've had little colds. I've had little this and that, but I don't know the last time. It's probably been 10 years, 11 years, or 8 years, 9 years since I've been sick for 18 days. So you get this medicine, right? You act like a vaccine supremacist. You say that I shouldn't have access to healthcare, and then you're not like this symbol of health. Like, look how great I feel. I feel amazing. I'm never going to get COVID. You've had it and you felt sick for 18 days. So maybe you should shut the F up, Piers Morgan, you piece of trash, okay? Because I don't want to be forced a product that clearly didn't even really work for you. And if it gives you protection down the line or something, congratulations. You know, I'm proud of you. But this idea that you can kick me out of bars and venues, and watch out, folks, for snakes on both parties, because there are people that would treat you like this in a second. And I'll just name a few because I've been watching and paying attention. Geraldo Rivera has no problem with you being a slave, peasant, or second-tier citizen if you don't get the jab that he claims that he got. Ben Shapiro has no problem if your kids get kicked out of school and can't access public spaces if they don't get certain jabs. He said it on his show. He's not going to talk about it a lot because then people would realize that he's really not my Bowling Branch sheets. It's like, cool. That's awesome. Sell your sheets and your gold and your, you know, fancy, you know, but if you think that, you know, people's kids should not be allowed to public spaces because they don't get a jab, I'm sorry, you're not on my team. That's not pro-freedom. That's not going to help me in this world. Seems a little bit sneaky to me. There's a lot of people that feel that way and call themselves conservatives. It's like, what are you going to conserve if you're not even going to allow me access to normal things because I don't line up for big pharma? And, you know, I don't care who gets what. There's a lot of great medicine out there. But when it comes to Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, I mean, just Google their track record. You can't make this crap up. What happened? I'm going to ask these in the form of questions. What happened to Johnson & Johnson's sunscreens this year with known carcinogens in them? What happened to Johnson & Johnson's baby powder with the asbestos incident and the lawsuits that even Reuters reported that they knew about, apparently, and still pushed the product? What happened with their recent settlement case for their, you know, complicity allegedly in the opioid crisis? You know, what happened with Pfizer and the foreign bribery case? What happened with Pfizer and the, you know, at the time, landmark case with the Justice Department? Am I supposed to not see that? What happened to Chantix? You know, someone said, one of the top comments on my last video was like, you know, every time I went to the doctor, they told me take Chantix, take Chantix, take Chantix to stop smoking. And now, according to the New York Post, Chantix is off the market because it wasn't quite as safe as they thought it was. So it's not like I'm a theorist. I actually read the news. I watch TV sometimes, not that much, thank God, or else I'd be a psycho. But when I do watch TV, every other commercial suing a product that they told me was safe when I was a kid. Did you take this product that we told you to take and we promised you was safe? If you did, you can go to Levenstein and Levenstein's Foundation and they can sue you for. It's like every commercial's like that. So this idea that Piers Morgan thinks he can force vaccinate me or kick me out of public spaces when he's been sick for 18 days, even though he got the medicine, is just categorically insane. And I hope people realize, whether it's Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, you, me, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, I hope people realize, in a perfect world, you listen to your government and they do exactly what you want them to do. In this world, they told you 15 days to slow the spread was going to last for 15 days, not because they thought they could kill the virus. They never thought they could stop the virus completely. They said they needed 15 days to do the Javits Center, to do the ships, the USS Murphy, and prepare for what could be an overwhelming of the hospitals. And in most parts of the country, this is on record, look it up, there was no surge. In fact, they laid people off because they closed down elective surgeries, cancer screenings, etc., and screwed over millions of people. Google tuberculosis, Guardian, there's a whole article saying like hundreds of thousands of people died from tuberculosis because they diverted their medical attention away to other stuff. I mean, this has a real toll. Millions of people suffered because of this. And I know several that are experiencing shitty treatment because of the backup of what happened all last year. So that's what 15 days to slow the spread was, not to stop the virus, not to kill it completely. So for the first month, and Donald Trump was in the White House, I know people think it's all Joe Biden. He wasn't even there at the time. And Joe Biden's trash, don't get me wrong. But Trump said, let's extend it past Easter. And all the Republicans followed suit except for one or two. Let's extend it past Easter because there's too many deaths. So they started counting deaths, even though they said we are just doing it not because we can stop it, because we just need to be prepared. They were prepared. They didn't even use the Javits Center, barely at all, if any. And then they moved the goalposts and they said, well, now we're just counting deaths. And they counted deaths for a month. And eventually deaths started declining. And then they started counting cases. And then they said, well, this is the case and we're going to do this. And then they said, put a mask on. And you should put a mask on. And then you put just a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Actually, we don't even know. We're not even going to tell you. And then people put the mask on. They said, put the mask on until you get vaccinated. And all the good little boys and girls said, I'm a good boy and I'm a good girl. I'm going to put my mask on. I'm going to get the vaccine. And then they're going to let me be free because Donald Trump's going to save me with Operation Warp Speed or Orange Man Bad. Fauci's my hero. I sleep next to him all night. Whoever you love or hate, your little false idol. And then people got the jab and they said, take your mask off. And they did. And everyone had a great time. And then they said, actually put the mask back on after Lollapalooza. Do you get what I'm saying? In a perfect world, you would comply and they would give you what they said they would give you back. But in this world, the second you do what they tell you, they move the goalpost, move the goalpost, move the goalpost, move the goalpost, move the goalpost. And after a year and a half, really what it is you're giving them that room. It's like putting your foot down. If your boss says, you don't have any vacation time, and you say, yes, daddy, now you don't have any vacation time. If you say, hey, I'm going to look for other jobs, or I have other offers. How about you give me 3 weeks of vacation time and then we could talk and then you might get a raise and then I'll give you vacation time. It's called putting your foot down. That's how you get results. Unfortunately, that's how this works. So the more you listen, the more they take. When you put your foot down and say no, they can't do it. Florida did that at one point. Certain businesses did that at one point. Certain businesses did that at the beginning. And when millions of people do that, that's when you get your freedom back. That's when you get your life back. And that's when you get your access to travel back. It's not when everybody listens. I wish it was. Look what's happening in Australia. Look what's happening in the UK. Look what's happening in Canada. And look what's going to happen in liberal cities. I hope people have learned their lesson. I think they have. Because even in DC and even in liberal parts of Colorado, no one's listening to these people anymore. They got the jab thinking that would allow them to take the mask off. And now the science is proving, although, in America, they claim that it's working really well. In Israel, it seems like the variants are taking over and they need a booster according to them. But in general, it's like, now they're telling you to put the mask back on because if you get a breakthrough case like Piers Morgan, you can spread it and get it and blah, blah, blah. And it's like people are like, what the hell? Thank God people are waking up now because I'm not doing this forever. And I think not only should it be optional, in a perfect world, the Supreme Court would look at this. I don't know how any of this is constitutional. How did they weigh in on churches and said churches can't get shut down? That's awesome. What about businesses? What about bars? What about clubs? What about health facilities? What about gyms? What about, doctor's office? What about how has the Supreme Court not weighed in on this? How come they don't? How do they not care about this? This has such a huge consequence to our country. At what point is a court going to step in and say, no, let's see what happens. Let me know what you think. But I hope people have learned their lesson, because unfortunately, they seem like they're never going to stop doing this. And I think it's been pretty obvious for a while. But if it hasn't, hopefully this week got through to people. Let me know what you guys think. I'll read a few comments and then I'm going to take off. Thank you guys for supporting. Thank you guys on Facebook for sharing my videos. I've had bigger numbers in the last 2 days than I've had in a long, long time. I guess a few of my videos are going viral. So it was nice to take a step away. But even when I go away, I work, because I work from my computer. So appreciate you guys. Thank you. Adrian, I'll check it out. Rochelle said churches were shut in Great Britain. Great Britain and Australia. I don't know what's going on. Thank you, Bill Barr. I appreciate you. I don't know if you're the real Bill Barr, but or you are, maybe Bill. You are Bill Barr. You're the real Bill Barr. The other Bill Barr is a fake. I'm just kidding. Thank you, Larissa. Someone said CNN and all of MSN are pushing mandates hard. I'm sure they are. Yeah, I'm sure they are. Let me see. Gordzilla said, keep it honest. I'll keep coming. Good show. Thank you, Gordzilla. I appreciate it. And I like your koala profile picture. It's a cute koala. All right. Let me read some on Facebook. Thank you, guys. Let me see what. Thank you, Tammy. Derek said, let's move to the South. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll say this. I don't want to be, I love New York City. I love Los Angeles. I don't want to be near Sodom and Gomorrah. I feel like those two cities are going down to the drain, and I love them. So if you're from there and you love it, stay and do the right thing. But for me, America's beautiful. 50 different states, different communities, different things going on. It's very fascinating. It's very fascinating to see in liberal parts of Colorado, employees have their masks off. In a conservative area of California, nobody's wearing a mask, but employers are still forcing a lot of their employees to wear masks in certain areas. So it's fascinating to see, like, we have all these other regions. So I never give people life advice, because who am I to tell you what to do? But I didn't want to be in LA. I left. I love my decision. But eventually, wherever you are, if you decide to move to Texas or Wyoming, whatever, God bless you. I think there's plays to be made. But wherever you are, it's time to do your part. And I think it's just when enough people stand up, that's when everything changes. Donald Trump is not going to save you. Dr. Fauci's not going to save you. Ron DeSantis is not going to save you. CNN's not going to save you. It's going to be when enough people decide. Like in my head, I've not been doing certain things for a long time, and I work and I do things and I get the results because I put in the work, and vice versa. It's like there's people who haven't worn a mask in 8 months because they don't fly and they just don't, they drive everywhere and they live in an area and don't go to businesses that force them. So everything's like what you make of it. This is a great country. This is a great world. If enough people stand up, then our community, the United States of America, it's not going to work. And I'll tell you what, I'm optimistic today. I don't think it's working. I don't think the however many 100 million people who got vaccinated in America, I don't think they want to wear a mask anymore. So I don't think the CDC and Fauci are going to be as popular as they think they're going to be when they keep moving the goalposts. They promise people the world, everybody listens to them, and then they take it away. And regardless of what people want to say, the mask is mentally abusive. I was having a conversation with a kid today, and I couldn't see his face. And it's like, I'm smiling. It's creepy. I feel like I'm talking to a robot. I hate it. It's not only mentally abusive for them, but also for me. It's taking away a smile. They say that a lot of your communication is done by body language, your mouth, your facial expressions. They're robbing you of your humanity. You're a human being. They're stealing that from you. And I'll tell you what, if you act like a sheep, they're going to treat you like a sheep. If you act like a robot, they're going to replace you with a robot. So they have no problem replacing you with a robot. They take away half your face. What are you? You're half of what you were yesterday. So it's like, you get what you put in this world, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. You put in the work, you take those steps, and your whole life will open up for you. And I don't want to tell people what to do, this or that, but I really think at a certain point when people put their foot down and do something either brave or that they love to do, that their soul tells them to do, I think God will have your back. But I'm not trying to give anybody advice or tell you what to do. I'm just saying, for me, I've taken risks. I've gone the route of what I wanted to do versus what other people told me to do. I went with my soul instead of with the industry. And I've been blessed and rewarded beyond belief to the point where it's not, I'm grateful. Angelic Witch said, thank you for always speaking the truth and always good to hear your thoughts. And above this COVID stuff is sad. I hope things get better. We love you. Thank you. Appreciate you, Angelic. I want to see this real quick. Craig, supporter on Facebook, said, I'm a father, single family income, Fed employee, and military reservist. Big Gov is forcing me to quit or jab. Yeah, it's crazy, Craig. I wish I could help. One thing that I can do, there's someone on Instagram that I'm going to interview this week, and she wants people to reach out to her. Conservative Ivy on Instagram, Conservative Ivy. She got in a lawsuit allegedly with Yale and won. So she works with an organization that's trying to help people. At a certain point, I don't know what you can do. I'm not a legal advisor. I'm not a medical advisor. So it's not my profession, and I wish I could do more. Talk to Conservative Ivy. And from what I'm reading is people are saying, don't quit, let them fire you. I don't know the legal benefits to that, but things are going to get ugly because there's going to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who don't want to do it. There's going to be court cases. It's going to get interesting. I've heard stories from people in the military. I just don't, I can't really tell you what to do, but I would say, go with your heart, listen to what you want to do, and just do your research of what you can do. Cause I think this is also new. This type of stuff is going to be settled in court eventually, and it's going to go back and forth. There's going to be wins and losses for both sides. So, I'm not a legal advisor, but it just saddens me when people are forced to do this type of stuff. It's just gross. Kay Wickham said, crushing it as usual. All my family and friends are now on the anomaly train. My kids want nothing to do with the blank and are perfectly fine staying out of school. Truth and facts. Keep crushing, brother. God bless. God bless you too, and God bless your family. It sucks that the world is so wicked because I'm not in a position to give people advice. But when I look at what Disney's doing, when I look at what Nickelodeon's doing, when I look at what public schools are doing, it's not like it was when I grew up. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it's really creepy now. They're pushing their agenda so heavy, and they're so disgusting and so wicked and so reckless that as a parent, I'm not one, so I don't like to give advice, but it's like, I think you really have to pay attention to your kids. And, if you send them off to a daycare or to a school, just know that your kid is growing up and is learning things. So whoever's watching your kid or teaching your kid, that's going to influence who they become. So I think, people have to it sucks that this happens because it should be easier to send your kids somewhere, but it's like, just pay attention because it's an overdrive right now. Like the wickedness is an overdrive. And if you're not paying attention, they're probably doing sneaky stuff to the kids. Did I go to public or private high school? Said Pete. Good question. I went to public school, but God bless my mother. She tried to move somewhere where the public schools were good. So we didn't have the most money in the world, but she was a great mom, and she tried to put me in a position because private school is expensive. Go to a public school, but try to get somewhere where the public schools were pretty good. So I'm very fortunate because of my mother. She's a wonderful woman. Corey said, I work at Best Buy in Colorado, and they are forcing masks again. I refused to wear one. They sent me home. That's wild. The corporations, and this is where I think Republicans are not paying attention. They can't do everything, but in general, everyone's like, oh, they're not going to do it. And it's like, first of all, during the lockdown, millions of businesses went under and hundreds of thousands of mom and pop shops suffered, and the corporations got bigger. A lot of these corporations, tech corporations, et cetera, grew. The chains, now they have more power because they were allowed to stay open with different rules. How does Walmart and Target have different rules than a restaurant? They screwed over these people. And now, so this is what frustrates me with the Republican Party. They act like communists and socialists when we need them to be strong. During the lockdown, I hate to break it to people, and I don't care how many people cry, you lost the debate, he's my hero. I don't care. Think what you want. Go listen to that person then, because they're stupid. But in general, when we needed Republicans to stand firm, they became socialists and communists. Last year, when push came to shove, they were all socialists. They were all communists. They were all printing money. They were all locking down. They were all selling you guys out and screwing you over. So when we need them to be strong, they're socialists and communists. And then when Republicans, then it's like a year later and they're like, oh, we're libertarians now. Why weren't you libertarians in 2020? They weren't libertarians in 2020, but now as Costco and all these, wherever you work, Best Buy, as these places start to force people to do stuff, they're going to be like, oh, we can't do anything about it. It's like they're communists when we need them, and then libertarians when all the shit hits the fan that they themselves did. They only sell you on this idea of socialism sucks because they fundraise off it, but they became socialists. I still think they're better than Democrats. I'm still a registered Republican. I still think Republicans locally and statewide are 1,000 times better than Democrats, but they're seriously getting to the point where they're like actors. They're so used to everyone clapping for them. It's like they don't even do that much. They act like they're doing all this stuff for you, and they're selling you out and then acting like libertarians when push comes to shove. So when people are like, I lost the debate. I lost the debate to a libertarian who claims that Trump printing trillions of dollars doesn't affect inflation and affect the currency. Like, if you're that stupid, no offense, you'll gravitate towards people like that. And if you're not, you'll gravitate towards people who don't lie to you. But Jason said, from what I'm hearing, the military is really messed up right now. So many soldiers don't want the jab and are facing court martials if they don't comply. Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories. There's forced masking, there's forced jabs, there's 2 sets of rules for people who get it and don't get it. I've heard a lot, but it's not really my place to speak on, except for what I know and what I tell you. But, I hate seeing what's happening. I really do. But I can only speak for myself and do what I can. And if everybody plays their part, the world will be a better place. That's all you can do. All you can do is do your own thing. And I think when people are brave and people stand up, that has an impact. I've watched singular people do amazing things just by standing up for themselves. So I don't know what that entails, or, I've never been in the military, so I don't understand the rules, the contracts. Like, apparently you sign away a lot when you sign it. So I don't want to misspeak, and I'm certainly not trying to give people advice or anything, but, that's for you to decide. I can only do what I do. And, once you sign that paperwork, etc., I don't know what you signed. To be honest, I don't know what I signed. I was joking with my friend about the Apple, the Apple contracts. What have I signed? I've signed so many Apple contracts. They probably own. They're like, sorry, you signed away your house. We own your house now. I'm like, what? They're like, BlackRock, Vanguard, Apple. Yeah, sorry, you should have read the terms and conditions. I'm like, gosh darn it, I knew I should have. Breakthrough Media said, check out Non-Compliant by Christiane Hall. She also helps folks about this get it or quit crap. Non-Compliant movie by Christiane Hall. Thank you for the super chat, Breakthrough Media. And there are people who are doing certain things. I guess if you want it enough, you'll find it. If you want to look for resources, you'll find it. I'll do what I can, but I can't do a million things at once. I know, there are people who have been successful in court and others who probably haven't. I don't know. Rock the Night 08 says, thank you for being a kind voice in the reason of the midst of the madness. Continue opening minds and exposing the demons. God bless. Thank you, Rock the Night. I try to be kind, but sometimes I fight with people on here. Someone said, I'm not locking down again. I lost my job for the first time. I'm not going to do that again. Yeah, I'm not doing it either. I can't believe that they're trying to do this again. They claim that they're not, though. It's so beautiful because seriously, when people like, you get what you give, you get what you do. So people don't realize, like, if you follow, they'll lead you somewhere. Like I said, if you act like a sheep, they'll treat you like a sheep. And it's hard to feel bad for people because that's just life. Like, you're in control of your life. So if you allow people to do this to you, you get that type of treatment. And I'm not saying you deserve it, but at a certain point, it's like, if you don't say no, they're going to do it. So I think, the beautiful thing about all this and the optimistic take is, like, your destiny is really up to you. Like, at a certain point, I'm not going to say where I am, but I'm in certain situations where everybody's wearing the mask and I'm not. And guess what happens? Nothing. It's just like, people just listen. If you listen, they'll give you something. So, but you better make sure who you're listening to is someone worth listening to, because if they're not, so that's what it is. Like, once enough people do something. In my city, I haven't worn a mask in a long time. There were when I broke my thumb, I made a few sacrifices because I was like, I got to get this fixed really quick. But I don't go in a restaurant. Like, that's not existent to me. And there's like a certain bar where I set my standard and I don't go past there. I even at TSA, I had a conversation with the TSA guy. I was walking. He said, hey, sir, put this on. And he said, we're doing this for everyone's safety. He said, we're doing this for everyone's safety. We're doing it for everyone. And I said to him, I said, you're not doing this for everyone's safety. Like, that's bullshit. I said, inflation, starvation, mental health, physical health, economic impact, hundreds of thousands of restaurants have closed down. You know that people are suffering because of this. So I was like, just don't bullshit me. If you want me to put the mask on because I'm in the airport, I get it. You're doing your job and God bless you. But if you're acting like you're doing this for everyone's health, you're full of shit, bro. And it's like, I said that to him and he was like, it's crazy times we're living in. But if everybody did something, I'm not saying you got to yell at the TSA guy, but in general, like at restaurants, if everyone had these conversations, eventually this would all go away. This could all, it's really a matter of where you live, your town, your city, your state, and then your bigger community would be the country. When is enough enough? And I truly think enough is enough right now. I don't think Democrats and liberals and conservatives and Republicans, people who got the jab, I think they're starting to realize that they listened to everything. They locked down. They did 15 days to slow the spread. This guy lost his job. I know multiple people who got the jab, not because they wanted to, because they were pressured and they were forced to get it. And guess what? Now they're still being treated like shit. They're still wearing a mask. They're still doing this. And now they're being told that they're no better than the unvaccinated. For a year, they're saying, you're so much better that you don't have to wear a mask. Now they're saying, you're still better. You're still more protected. You're still protected against this and this, but you could still get it. You could still spread it. And we're going to need you to put the mask back on. You think people want to hear that? Of course they don't. So, I think the tides are turning. And my advice, because I know there's Republican politicians that watch. And I want to say shout out to Paul Gosar. I don't know if he watches, but he follows me on Twitter. Seems like a cool guy and, retweets me and says stuff sometimes. So shout out Paul Gosar, cool guy. But in general, my advice to the Republican Party and anybody who listens, run on freedom. Okay. You can win. Most people are not that Democrat and they don't, like, a lot of these kids who vote, they don't know anything. No offense. I was a kid like that. I knew nothing. Okay. I probably would have voted for Obama because he seemed cool. And I thought maybe he smoked weed and I was a moron. I was like, but I had a vote. My vote counted just as much as yours. It's a sad truth. But in general, people think everybody understands everything. Most people don't care. Most people want to go to Coachella and Lollapalooza. Most people want to go to Ultra Festival. Most people want to go to the Raiders game. So Republicans, if they stop trying to pander to certain communities and just said, we're the party of freedom. If you want to go to a concert, you can go to a concert. If you want to go to the show, you can go to the show. If you want to take your mask off, and they're starting to do that, people like DeSantis, but to me, that's the win. You can reach 100. Don't be so stale and stiff and sound like a politician. Just be like, do you want to live the rest of your life like a prisoner and a second-tier citizen, whether you got vaccinated or not? We're giving it all to you. You can live free. You can go to the festivals. Liberals will love that. That's a winning message because I know millions of people, vaccinated or not, they just want to go to freaking Coachella. They're so tired of this crap. The Republican Party could crush it if they just do like, I'm doing the American Dream Plan for Hispanics only. Like, nobody likes that. Just stop pandering so much. Just say, we're the party of freedom. We're the party of you can go to a club. We're the party of you can go to the bar. We're the party of you can travel. If you want to be locked down for the rest of your life, then, the Democratic Party's for you. If there's a very small minority that's loud, most people do not feel that way. They just listen to what they're told. They're being threatened and scared by these people because they employ them. Most people are not like, I want to sit inside all day. Most people want to be left the F alone already, whether they got vaccinated or not, voted for Biden or not. Everyone's tired of it. So people think 50% of the country is like a psychopath with COVID. No, that's a small minority, and they just happen to control the media and, work at all the major institutions. So they're very loud because they seem to dominate at the New York Times and CNN and in Hollywood, et cetera. But most people who vote for these people, they don't feel that way. So I feel like you could suck a lot of these voters. 80% of people just listen to what they're told. They don't feel that way. They're just doing it because these psycho liberals in control are screaming at them. And they're telling them they can't go to Coachella if they don't get vaccinated. So they're like, oh shit, I'll just do it. Now they're starting to realize like, well, I just did it. Now you're trying to take this shit away from me again. So don't think that everybody's as radical as these loud, annoying people in the press. They're not. Most people just are tired of this now. It's time to win that crowd over by just not being so political about it and just nailing them with, I will set you free. I will get you. If you want to get the booster every year, you can get the booster every year. But I'm not going to force you to do this. That would get so many votes. I truly think. We'll see though. Someone said, clip this rant so I could share. All right, Zach, I'll do that. I have my buddy who's here and we have the Clips channel. Thank you guys for subscribing to youtube.com/dreamrareclips. It's got 2,500 subscribers, not a lot, but I'm starting a new channel for clips. If you don't want to hear me talk for 2 hours, I don't blame you. I don't like to listen to myself either. You can go to the Clips channel, 2 minute, 5 minute, 1 minute, 3 minute, little clips you could share, you could watch, Clips channel. Anomaly, you talk too much. I agree. Go to Dream Rare Clips and then I'll shut up. After 5 minutes, I'll still talk with you. Get it. Dream Rare Clips, YouTube. Subscribe. Why would you run it hold on. Let me see. Pam said, there are a lot of people who will cave under pressure and fear of losing their livelihood. Stay calm and breathe. Yeah, and I feel bad because, it's tough. If you work for a company and you don't have that much money and they're saying, or you do have money, either way, it still sucks to lose money. If they're saying, hey, you can't travel unless you do this. You can't work here unless you do this. It's scary. You have to, not everybody's super strong. Not everybody's super confident. Not everybody's super alpha or super self-aware is not the right word. Maybe self-esteem or life is scary. I've been in jobs where I couldn't afford to lose, but I always played my cards just right. I did just enough to get it. And then I'm I'm out the door. Peace. I got enough money to pay rent this month. But it sucks. It hurts me because I know not everyone has the means to do it. But this is just my experience. I didn't always have money. I struggled most of my 20s. I would say I had less than $1,000 in the bank account at a lot of times. I saved up money. I did this and that, but I never really compromised what I wanted to do. And it paid off for me. I can't say that's going to work for everybody, but there were times people said, if you rap about this, you could sign to this label. I had meetings with major labels, independent labels, flew me across the country, brought me to, New York City to sit in their thing. And they had all these whack ideas. And I never said yes. I could have went that route and said, well, they're paying me money. But to me, I never was I struggled for so long because I would not sell my soul and I wouldn't compromise what I wanted to do. And it paid off tenfold. It just took a really long time. I had to struggle through my 20s. I didn't go on vacation. I didn't have money to do stuff. But to me, it's not an option. There is no, I'm not selling out. I'm not doing that. I'm a stubborn person. So with this thing, I'm not wearing a mask to walk 5 seconds in it. Well, just do it. I got family members, friends, they hate going to eat with me during COVID because they're he's going to yell at these people. But I'm not wearing a mask for 5 seconds to sit down at a restaurant. And I'm going to give them an earful because it's not even an option in my mind. If more people felt that way, this was you're going to make me wear a mask to walk 10 steps. There's billions of masks now in the ocean. I'm going to throw this out in the trash. There's no scientific reasoning for wearing it for 10 seconds. They're training you. They're training you to be obedient. So they're going to replace the mask with the vaccine and you're going to do it. It's at a certain point, either you're going to, be your own entity or you're just going to fall in line. And at a certain point, people got to stop falling in line because if tens of millions of people will wear a mask, hundreds of millions of people will wear. Hey, I said, hey, sir, sorry, we have a policy here. Can you wear a mask for 10 seconds before you sit down? Okay, can you take it off now and order? Is that science? No, that's like a test of how obedient you are. Everybody failed that. I had friends that were dude, they're please, I want to eat here. I'm bro, there's people who had to suffer in gulags and their whole family died. We have 15 restaurants we could go to. If these people are going to treat us like an animal and a slave, I'm going to say, let me speak to your manager. I'm not an animal and I'm not a slave. And you got to stop treating people like this. Well, I don't want to do it. What are you going to do if you I would starve to death before I did this. I would eat rice and you know what I'm saying? Water fast for 30 days before I gave up my soul. And you can't even go to another restaurant, So it's these are little tests for us right now. And if you fail this test, you can go to a restaurant down the street that doesn't treat you, but you want to comply. They keep moving the goalposts. And then they change the mask with the vax. No mask, no service. No vax, no service. This was second they put the mask in. It's once they put the mask and everyone follows the mask, if you don't wear a mask, you can't come here. They were always going to replace the mask with the vax. If you don't get the vax, you can't come here. And once everybody gets trained to listen, then they'll listen to the next thing. And where does it end? Even if you got vaccinated, where does it end? At what point can Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, pharmacy lobbyists who apparently pay off Trump and Biden? I know people don't think Trump takes lobbying money, but opensecrets.org says otherwise, which keeps track of it. What does that mean for the rest of your life? Maybe you want to get this one. Maybe you want to get you don't want to get the next one. And I have a question. I'm not saying this is common because I do believe that it's rare, but it's now proven, and it's in mainstream sources, and the CDC admits that some of the jabs cause certain people to have Guillain-Barré syndrome and myocarditis, or however you say it, the heart inflammation. This is my serious question. I know it's a small amount of people, but if somebody got myocarditis or Guillain-Barré syndrome from the jab, are they going to be forced to get the booster shot? They are. I've had people who are injured who couldn't go to college because they didn't want to get the COVID one because they were already injured from a previous one on record. And now, so where does it end? If somebody has heart inflammation, are you going to force them to get 3 boosters in order to be fully vaccinated? I think these people don't give a shit about you. Of course, in a sane society, you'd say, well, since you have a condition, we're going to let you slide. Since you have a reason, we're going to let you slide. They're not doing that. They're saying, if you don't follow this, I have somebody that's scared to death. This is a real story. I'm not making this up. A girl, a couple years younger than me, her arm doesn't work anymore. She can't lift it a certain area. And they've confirmed that it's from a jab she got years ago, not this one, another one. So everybody's pressuring her to get this jab. If you don't get this jab, you can't go here. If you can't get this jab, you can't go on tour. If you don't get this jab, you can't work here. And she's scared to death because she's like, I'm already injured from one you told me to get 5 years ago. And I'm afraid to get this one. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, these people are full-blown psychopaths. And anybody acting like, no, if your favorite Republican, I know the Democrats don't give a crap about this, but if you're a conservative and your favorite Republican isn't taking a hardline stance against this, why are they your favorite Republican? I mean, one of the worst Republicans on this topic is Donald Trump. He's spent so much energy selling the vaccine. He spent virtually zero energy saying any of this stuff. He every now and then says, yeah, it's your right to choose, blah, 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 blah. I did. He's acting as if he doesn't see all this stuff. He doesn't care about you, but people keep clapping for him. So you get what's coming. You know, you get what you put in. If you take a stand, you get results. If you cave to these people and think that they're your idol, you get the results. You know, Anomaly, you should have never said something about Larry Elder. He's still the favorite. I still maybe might vote for him. I don't even know yet, but I'm just saying, as a taxpayer, as a California citizen, his mask stance is weak. And one of the biggest issues facing our world is the vaccine, the mask. And I want to know where he stands because his statement was weak and it doesn't seem like he has a big stance. So I said something and he responded in 24 hours. Do you think he would have responded normally that quickly? No, he did it because I'm not bragging, but I reached hundreds of thousands of people and he couldn't escape it. I said something about Ted Cruz. Millions of people saw it. Millions of people caught on and millions of people did it on their own. And Ted Cruz apparently is now reconsidering his crappy vaccine segregation statement. So it's not me being mean. Everyone's like, people like the debate idea, like stick, oh, he's such an intellectual. No, he's a pansy beta male who just makes excuses for tyranny. Go watch his channel if that's the type of energy you want. Move to Europe with him. No offense to Europeans, but they could use that energy here. We don't need it in America. It's like, that's not strength. That's like, oh, my team is better than your team. I'm just going to make you see. It's like, that's why we have no leadership. If you're Republican leadership, yes, there's legislation. Yes, there's rules. Yes, there's things that they could do with their pen, but there's also leadership things they could do. And they lead a whole group of people. Trump, not just a politician. Now he's not in office. His power comes from the people. And you could argue that that's even more powerful than his position was. When the media changes people's minds, the Overton window shifts to the left. They've done this for 40 years. It didn't matter. It was Nixon. It was Kennedy. And now it's freaking, Mitt Romney and John McCain. It's like, that's the media. The media is almost more powerful than the politicians. They shift the public and then you get what they told you wanted. So, with Trump, yes, he has a position in the White House, but he doesn't anymore. He has his voice and he has perhaps the biggest platform in the world, even though he got deplatformed. Millions, if not billions of people like Donald Trump and listen to his every word. So if he's telling everybody how great his product is, but he's not saying anything about this forced vaccine passport stuff, I'm sorry, that's shitty leadership. And if more people called him out, he would change because Don Jr. knows it. Everyone knows it. It's like, you get what you put in. So I don't do this stuff to be edgy. I don't do it to turn on him. this is how you get results. It's the only way you get results. The only reason people got results during the Trump era to some extent was because Trump came through, he said something, people realized they wanted that. And then now you can't win in the Republican Party if you don't align with Trump. If you're one of these phony Adam Kinzinger types, he's going to lose eventually. You know, all these phony Republicans that are worse than the Lauren Boeberts and Marjorie Taylor Greens, they're all going to lose. And that's a good thing. You know, the progress didn't come because everyone wanted the same thing. Progress came when they held people responsible. Thank you, Eve B. And, you know, I saw people going at, Kristi Noem recently, because Kristi Noem put out some BS statement. Oh, it's the employer's right to decide. She took the libertarian stance, and everybody was railing against her. That's good. I mean, I like her. She seems nice, but you're a politician. You're serving the people. If you don't take a hardline stance against medical tyranny, you deserve to be ridiculed until you take a better stance. That's called power to the people. And I would love to see people treat Donald Trump with the same energy they treat Kristi Noem. You hate Mike Pence because of what he did on January 6th. What about Donald? You act like Donald Trump. It's like he doesn't know. It's like treat him the same way you treat Kristi Noem and watch how fast you get results. It's not a bad thing. I promise you, things will get better quickly. Eve B said, hey, I love your channel. I'm in DC and I see plenty of people maskless, especially at the Nats game. It feels so good to see faces again. I'm telling you, folks, people are tired of it. I don't care if you're Democrat, you got the vax, you're conservative, you got the vax. Well, it doesn't. People who got the jab did not get the jab so they could be told that they're a super spreader. You know, like you don't get medicine to be told you're still sick. You get the medicine to told that you're better. So the fact that they promised people the world, everyone got the jab and they told them to put the mask back on, which, by the way, I mean, it's a cloth over your face. It's disgusting. I hate it. It's so unsanitary. I could put a dirty, dripping mask with like poop on it and they'd be like, that's fine. They would rather me put a dirty diaper on my face than breathe air freely. Literally, I could take a mask filled with toxins, filled with trash, filled with dirt, filled with human feces, wipe it all over the mask. Sorry for the visual. It's disgusting. Wipe it all over the mask. And I'd walk in somewhere and they'd say, hey, can you put the mask on, sir? And it would be drip. I'd be like, you want me to put this on? They'd be like, yeah, that you have to put it on. Okay. It's not for my health. They're just sheep. They're following orders. What if your kid is playing and it's all dirty? Put the mask back on in school. It's abusive. It not only hurts your ears, it's disgusting. It's like putting a dirty napkin that you've been using for 7 hours back on your face over your breathing holes. It's disgusting. Yes, there's pros, but there's also cons. They don't wear them for 8 hours in doctor's office. Hey, let me put this on for 8 hours and go play in the sand with them. That's not what they do in doctor's office. They put a clean cloth over their face temporarily so they don't spit in somebody with an open wound when they're doing surgery. It's not to, play a 6-year-old playing on the playground with a dirty mask so he could slap it back on his face. And it's hard to feel. I feel bad for the kids, but how in the world could you let your kid do that? I don't get it. I don't even have a kid, but I don't even want to do it. If they were doing it and I had a kid, I'd be 50 times as pissed off as I am now. How in the world do people let them do this to their kid? If every parent was a parent, this would have been over yesterday. But people were like, oh, I guess I have to do it. It's like, what? It's going to mentally abuse these kids for a long time. And I saw a lot of people weighing in on Simone Biles, and you say what you want about her, but a lot of people are suffering from mental health. I'm not saying she's the greatest, whatever, but mental health is a problem amongst the youth and people her age and people younger. And I get why. Technology, everyone's on the computer too much. It's weird. I mean, I'm looking at a computer now. It's much more fun to be whitewater rafting. No offense, but it is. And also people have been wearing masks for 1.5 years. So I'm not giving her an excuse, but it's like all these kids and all these people are like mentally abused. They haven't seen faces. They don't know how to communicate. They're getting yelled at by their teacher all the time. This is abusive. Anxiety's on the rise. And I know that because I've never had anxiety. I was nervous at times, but I've never had the type of anxiety I had last year and this year, because people were just treating me like shit everywhere and forcing a dirty diaper on my face all the time. And it's like abusive. So I started getting more weirded out last year because they abused humanity. So I think, gymnastics aside, people should look at this like it is. Are you going to let them abuse you, children? For how long? At what point do people put their foot down some way? Even a little bit, if everyone put their foot down a little bit, this is so far. And I'll tell you what, It pretty much is. I think this is the moment. I hope I'm confident, or I'm optimistic rather. This might be the moment that people are tired of it. People got the jab that wanted to get it, and now they're being told to put a mask back on. I think people are tired of it, and I hope so. All right, I'm gonna stay for a few more minutes, and I'm out. Someone said, Michael said, those who have COVID still have to get the vaccine in my company. Yeah, I mean, Thomas Massey's commenting on that, and Rand Paul too. If you have natural antibodies, they don't even care. They don't even care. They're not trying to study you and like, okay, you had COVID. Do you have natural antibodies? Maybe that. They don't care. Get in line and get the product. Get in line and get the product. What about places that are saying, if you got vaccinated, you don't have to get a test? This is happening all over the world, the NFL, Lollapalooza, et cetera. If you got vaccinated, no test. If you're not vaccinated, you have to get a test. But they're also admitting in mainstream news that if you got vaccinated, you could still get it. You could still transmit it. So why wouldn't they test everybody? If vaccinated people can transmit the virus and have to put a mask on now, why wouldn't you test them too? Because they're trying to just force people to get this product, whether you got it or didn't, or like it or don't, or love Pfizer or hate Pfizer. It doesn't matter. This is what they're doing. It's not based on science. It's not based on virology. It's based on get in line, get the product, and we don't really care. We don't care if you have natural immunity. We don't care if you can get it. We don't care if you transmit it. We certainly don't care if you get side effects from this. You'll have to shut your mouth or we'll censor you. That's what they're doing. It could not be more clear. It could not be more clear. Seriously. Someone said Anomaly doesn't have mods. I don't need mods. People can say what they want. If people want to spam and say certain things, I don't care. That's I would never waste my energy typing things on someone's live stream that I didn't like, just repeating the same thing for 3 hours. People do that on my Instagram. People think they're so funny. They're like, Trump is my savior, whatever. Like they're trolling, but I don't even care. It's like they sit there for 3 hours on my Instagram live and they're like, Trump is my daddy. Like it's probably like 15-year-old kids or like pathetic, like 30-year-old men, whatever, that are like, oh my God, it's so funny. The joke's on them. It's like you could sit there for 3 hours typing on my live stream. Like I'm doing my live stream. People are tuning in because they like me and commenting and actually saying things because people are here. I read them. It's fun. We interact. They say what they think. And you're sitting there just spamming messages. Like, why would I even care? I'm like, the joke is on you. You're spending 3 hours pretending you hate me, repeating the same word 50,000 times. Like, that's sad. It's not like, oh my God, I'm suffering. I'm like, that's really sad. I'm like, I try to inspire these people. I'm not even being sarcastic. I'm like, dude, get a hobby, do something. Like if you like someone else, go watch them. Like I feel bad. I'm like, you're never going to do that much if you sit in my thing and just say things like, I don't like you. I'm like, then go ride a bike or something. Like I'm not being sarcastic, like literally ride a bike unless it's too dark. Someone said not downplaying mental illness, but I could see her not going to the Olympics or not doing the event. Well, the Simone thing, I'm just saying a lot of people have mental health problems, but with her, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a distraction of a story. I think a lot of people have mental health problems, but I think she's a reflection of the world we live in. So I know people don't like what she did, and a lot of people think it's weak. But I think millions of people are acting like her. This is the world that the media has created. This is the world psychologically that the schools and the culture have created. So in my opinion, although I have my personal opinion about how brave I think she is or how lame I think it is, I can't flip like her. So my opinion doesn't really matter. And, whether she sits out or not, her past accomplishments are the past, and maybe she'll regret this one day, and maybe she'll wish she competed because she probably could have won. But to me, the bigger issue is like, it's a distraction. People are fighting. And I don't know. I don't see it that way, where I'm like, I'm not going to weigh in on how great, like when people say, Anomaly, you should do this or that, you create a channel. I'm not going to talk about Michael Jordan. I'm not going to talk about, I can talk about certain basketball players, but who cares if I can't beat them? So with her, I think although people could say it's a weak move, but she's a reflection of what millions of people are going through. And our country is not healthy. We're not mentally healthy, not before the lockdown, not after the lockdown. So to me, although I have my personal opinions on what she should or shouldn't have done, I think it raises an issue. Like the people that are like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, there's hundreds of millions of kids just like her because they grew up on the internet. They grew up on the culture. They grew up on the liberal philosophy. They grew up during lockdowns and their brains are a mess. So let's help some of these kids as opposed to ridicule like one gymnast for a week and then forget about her 2 weeks later. I'm not saying I'm obsessed with what she did, just like I don't like LeBron really very much, but to me, the big issue is not what Simone Biles did or didn't do. She's one person who made one decision that, to be fair, she'll probably regret for her whole life, and that's on her. But I think people use this to divide and fight, and they don't address the real issues. We have a mental health problem in this country. We have a pill and pharmacy problem in this country. Our life expectancy is going backwards. It's actually going down for the first time in a long time over the past couple of years because people are depressed. People are killing themselves. People are on all these pills. Kids are on the internet, and they don't know how to communicate and live in real life anymore. People think because I'm on my phone a lot, yes, I use my phone a lot. Luckily, I utilize it, and it's changed my life. But when I'm not on my phone and when I'm not doing work, I probably spend less time on my phone than some people who don't even do what I do. Because when I'm in nature, I'll turn it off for 4 hours, 5 hours. When I go to the beach, I don't use it at all. I don't sit on it all the time. I do my work. I definitely use it more than most people because of what I do. But it's like there's people who don't even work on it who are on it 12, 15 hours a day. It's like, what does that do to you mentally? And what does it do to me mentally? I'm not saying I'm above it. I'm just like, these are issues that no one's addressing. Everybody just wants to fight. Pick a side. You like her, you hate her. You think she's a sell. It's like, listen, gymnastics is a skill. I'm good at other stuff. I talk trash in arenas that I'm good at. If not, it's not really up to me. I could have an opinion on what Scottie Pippen did or Simone Biles did, but to me, it's the big issue is not being addressed. But just my thought. Anomaly talk about the airstrikes in Somalia last week. Someone asked me about that on my Instagram. I wasn't following it. I would have to look it up. So I don't like fighting in war, but I'm unfamiliar with that. I apologize. Star Lily said that's good to take breaks from devices. Oh, for sure. When I go on a hike or when I go to the beach or I love putting my phone away. When I get a coffee or something, I do a good job, actually. I do a good job of putting it away and taking time off. As good as I can, I think. I could always be better, but all right, 1:30, I'll stay a few more minutes. Why don't I start a political party, said Matthew. People say this every live stream, but I think, and I'm watching a documentary that mentions this, but the media has more power than politicians. The media was able to transform your culture religiously, sexually, every which way. The media took a Christian nation, which once had morals that no longer exist really in the culture, except on the offshoot. So the media can take you from here to here. And when the population goes from here to here, the politicians go from here to here, So I think the media is more powerful than politics. And I do media. I can't do everything. I could get into politics. I don't like politics. I don't want to be in it. I say what I say, but I'm more interested in media. And I'm not saying I'm that special, but I think media is more important. Education, media, culture. They've taken our country from a Christian nation, which I think had at one point, the doing the right thing was not easy, but it was more popular, and doing the wrong thing was looked down upon. And I think the media inverted our culture to the point where doing the wrong thing is now impressive. I don't care how big or small people are. I'm not judgmental, but I do know how health works. And at a certain point, I could be healthier and so could other people. But the media went from promoting healthy, although I would say with girls, sometimes they did promote too skinny, which is not good. But in general, they went from that to being it's good to be this. And you're I'm not going to look down on you, but I don't know that that's ideal for how the body works, but you can pretend like it is or whatever. So it's the media has inverted everything. And that's why it's getting so weird. Nothing matters anymore. There's as many genders as you want there to be. There's demisexual pants. One of the sexualities literally means I'm demisexual, or I don't remember the name of it. Sorry. And it means I only want to have sex with people that I'm romantically interested in. That's called a normal relationship for a Christian. I'm not acting like I'm that special or anything. I'm just saying like, that's not this like blow. Oh my God, that's what people used to do. That used to be like status quo at one point. And then there was the sexual revolution. And at a certain point, people stop valuing like actual love. And I think it's not like it's like they're making up all these things. Like that's called like being normal. It's normal to want to do that with someone you like. It's not, I don't think it's natural to want to do things with people you don't like. And at a certain point, they made people think that was natural. And now they're getting back to the roots and making up new names for it. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? They just inverted society and now everyone's confused. JT Cali said, thank you for speaking the truth anomaly or always speaking the truth. Much respect. Thank you, JT Cali. I appreciate it. Someone said most people need history lessons. I think so, but I think history is written by the winner. And, I'm learning alternate history. I mean, I'll say this real quick because it's in this book, but this is a color comment. I don't plant these things, by the way. I just leave them here because I'm messy. But Color Communism and Common Sense by Manning Johnson. Manning Johnson, and this is G. Edward Griffin told me to read this. He's 90. He's alive. He's amazingly healthy. He's a legend. I read it, and Manning Johnson was a black communist in America who then left the Communist Party and started calling out all the bullshit. And in this book, like he talks about things that I never learned in history. So, for example, in this book, he talks about integration and segregation, and he explains what people did at the time, and it's not what I learned in school. So what he was saying in Color Communism and Common Sense by Manning Johnson is black people had infrastructure. They had their own schools. They had their own, etc. So he said liberals came down at the time. That's what he said. It's in the book. And he said, they said, you need to go to the white school. You need to go to the white hotel. You need to do this. And they made it illegal to have an all black school at a certain point. And they destroyed the infrastructure. So while we learned how great everything was, he was complaining that now there's 400 or 500 or however many black teachers unemployed. We had this. It was fine. You're taking it away and you're trying to send me somewhere that I don't want to go. He was explaining in the book, in his own words, my value as a black man in America is not based off of what white people see of me. I don't want to go to a hotel that they don't want me to go to. He said, so all these other people, they're trying to like, they think it's so cool. He's like, I'm not really into that. I have friends that are white, etc. But he's like, he was talking about the downsides of what happened. I'm not saying everything, there's pros and cons to everything, but everything got way better. And it's like, did it though? According to him, you destroyed a lot of black infrastructure. If you look at places like Little Rock, what's the crime rate in Little Rock right now versus what it was before? Obviously, there's pros to that, but at a certain point, there's also failing cities that are going downhill. New York's going downhill, Philly's going downhill, LA's going downhill. These cities, like, what happened? Something had to happen because at a certain point, it was great, and now it's really not that great anymore, or at least I'm not saying it's worse, but he kind of explains that where you'll never learn that in school. They'll call that whatever, but this guy's a black communist who ended up being more conservative and saying, listen, they destroyed our schools. They destroyed our, they took away teaching jobs from black teachers. And they decided that we weren't allowed to do that anymore. And he seemed to not like it. And he seemed pretty dang smart. So I just take his opinion of it. That's why I read just certain books from people and I'm like, this is not what I learned in school. They make everything sound so simple. They're like, MLK was awesome. Well, then why did they murder him then? I think he was cool, but it's like, okay, Malcolm X was, well, what happened? Like, how come we don't learn about Malcolm X? Oh, because he talked about liberals and he said liberals were the most dangerous thing in the Western Hemisphere. I didn't learn that in school. How come you guys didn't teach me about Malcolm X and how he said that white liberals were the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere? They're the most deceitful. They're like a fox. And when they said, well, it's not just white people, there's black people selling out black people too. And he said, yeah, they're all being controlled by the liberal. He said, find me one black leader that's destroying black people that isn't sanctioned, subsidized, and supported by the white liberal. That's epic. I didn't learn that in school. I didn't learn about what Manning Johnson said. I didn't hear both sides of the story. You don't hear both sides of the story. The victors write the narrative. And the victors in America are very clear. And in World War II, I think America won the war. More specifically, we worked with, I guess, China, Russia, the UK, and the UN was created after World War II, which was started by communists in China and Russia and America. I guess we weren't communists, but I think the communists won World War II. I'm not saying that the other side is awesome or something. I'm just saying, like, that's what happened. So all this communism that's coming, it was always going to come because the communists won the war. I know we fought them after for a little time, but I mean, I guess Russia fended them off, but we didn't, and Europe didn't. So something went wrong. Like, you can't say that, though, because if you say that, they'll try to take it out of context and be like, well, he's saying segregation was amazing. He's saying World War II, they were out. It's like, that's not what I'm saying, but they act like it's just like black and white. And it's like, no, you had communists fighting Nazis. So, we joined the one side. That's just what happened. Like, I don't think what Mao Zedong was good, but we didn't have a problem partnering with his country. I don't think what Stalin did was good, but we partner with his country. And you got pictures of U.S. presidents standing next to him. Nelson Mandela, there's a picture of him standing next to the communist hammer and sickle. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just like, I think that's part of history that they don't, there's parts of it that don't make sense. And on the flip side, there was Operation Paperclip, where I think 1,600 Nazi scientists, engineers, the guy Werner von Braun, who started the space program, and NASA, who was friends with Walt Disney, they brought them all over to America. It's like, so if they were so bad, why'd you bring 1,600 of them to America? Well, they changed. It's like, but you brought them right into government. It's not like you like put them in a house or something. You brought them right into the U.S. government. So something's not adding up, because you're telling me how bad these people are, and then you let them start NASA? That's kind of strange, is it not? So, I'm not saying what's right or wrong, true or false. I wasn't alive then. Clearly, some things are pretty obvious, but you can't have certain conversations because they just say, this happened, it was perfect. And then how come I'm reading the perspective of a black man from the 30s and 40s who says the opposite? Is he racist? I doubt it. He doesn't hate black people. I read the whole book. He loves black people. He loves himself. He's just a smart, intelligent guy who has a thing that I never heard in history. So I think, the best things to read, in my opinion, are books from people. If you read that biography of this or World War II story from some guy who wrote it 20 years ago, whatever, he's writing based on things he read from other people. I like to read books from the person. Who's the person? Let me read it. That to me, that's how you get better. And then you can piece it together, but who knows what really happened and et cetera. But the more I read, the more I hear things that I never learned in school. And I realize why I never learned them in school, because the people who teach the classes are liberal. The people who teach the classes are super progressive. The people who teach the classes change history every couple of years. It's like the history I learned is not the history kids are learning now. So which one's true? Is the new one true, or is that one true? Because there's some pretty conflicting stories going on here now that they're changing, their interpretation of America and race, et cetera. So are you not allowed to question that? I do, but someone said at least you read. I picked it up over the last few years. I was a reader when I was young. When I was teens through 20s, I stopped reading, and I always loved reading when I was younger, but now I've gotten back into it. Someone said, I know even conservatives get triggered, like, man up. No one can look at things objectively. I agree, KB. I think the blessing of last year made me realize I saw liberals go full-blown insane, and it was creepy. I've never, to give a backstory, when I was younger, I didn't know what liberal and conservative was. I didn't even, that wasn't a thing in my head. I didn't know left, right. That wasn't I was just doing my thing. And then I saw the left go insane and liberals, and then I realized last year that conservatives might be better on a lot of issues, and I vote that way, but they have that same type of mentality. It's your team versus your team. And when you're so dialed into like one thing, there's only two options, and the world is not two options. I'm sorry. So the right is very easily fooled. They could get fooled into passing a speech bill and supporting it because they think they're fighting Ilhan Omar, when in reality, their favorite Republicans are like signing away their freedom, So I've realized that the left is pretty terrible, and I think unrivaled in how bad they've become. But the right, there's certain things that I see, and it's cringy, where I'm like, man, they start calling everybody racist and anti-Semites, and I'm like, are you willing to have a full-blown conversation about this, or are you just using buzzwords? And It's definitely a little weird, but that's politics. It's like WWE, and people pick a person and then they just fight. It's like fight each other. What a crazy time. Someone said, just look at the back of the dollar bill. It's all right in our faces. It's been the entire time. There's a lot of symbolism on the dollar, pyramids, etc. It's definitely interesting. Someone said, research Operation Mockingbird. Yeah, I've heard about it for sure. I think a lot of people have looked into it. Someone said, I think politics are bogus. There's some good stuff coming out of it, but they get you because it's like a team thing. It's this team versus this team. But sometimes those teams, they call it a uniparty. Sometimes they're working together. And if you're fighting the other team, you don't even realize they're doing the same thing. And everybody loved Bernie Sanders and thought, and me included, I thought he was the real deal. And then you realize he's taking money from big pharma. He's just another Democrat in disguise, pretending to be an independent who now has become almost a full-blown Democrat. I mean, he used to be more independent when he was younger. Now he's a joke. And then everybody loved Donald Trump, right? Well, he's going to do it. And he did a lot of the same things. I mean, some things he did differently, but he also took money from big pharma. So, when it's red versus blue, there's differences, but there's a uniparty. There's a few things that are never going to change. Clearly, big pharma has control of everybody. Clearly, who don't they have control of? Thomas Massey, maybe Rand Paul a little bit, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they have everybody. And, when it comes to the foreign support of Israel, that's a bipartisan operation. Yes, there's people like Ilhan Omar who are not so supportive, but Joe Biden is, trust me, so it's like there's certain things that they're not going to change until people realize that you're watching a show and it's not quite as real as you thought it was. It reminds me of being on set of a reality show. When I lived in LA, my roommate was like a director, manager, I don't know, production. I don't even know what the heck his title was, but he was like, hey, I'm doing a reality show. We need just extras. Do you want to be an extra? Yeah, whatever. I'll check it out. So I went on, I'm not going to say what show, but it was a reality show. You probably heard of it. And I was just there for a day to like stand around. And I was like, whatever. It was all fake. And I knew it was fake going into it. I already knew it was fake. It was faker than I thought it was. Everything was fake. Fake alcohol, fake scenes, fake scripts. Everything was fake. You're going to stand in line and they're going to cut the line and act like they're so cool. It's all fake. We're not even at a club. It's all fake. The whole thing was fake. We're cutting the line. Everyone's watching. Oh, they're cutting the line. They're so cool. All the people in line are extras. They're not going anywhere. The building's empty. They go inside. Everyone's drinking alcohol. They made people pay for their own alcohol. They didn't even give people alcohol. It's not a club. It's a stage. And then they have a line. They go, they say the line, and then they cut. So the point I'm making is I already knew reality TV was fake. I already knew it was staged. When I was an extra on it, I realized it was 20 times as staged as I even thought it was. I was like, holy crap, everything's fake. It's the same with politics. It's like, it's fake, but you think like, people like Bernie and Trump make you think it's like a little bit realer. But like it's actually faker than people think it is. And it sucks, but it's like there are some cool people in it for sure. There's definitely some winners. I think Trump was very interesting and cool. Thomas Massey's cool. Rand Paul's cool. Marjorie Taylor Greene could be cool. Bernie Sanders used to be cool. When he was younger, he used to agree with Trump. He used to say that immigration is a threat to the working class. Bernie Sanders was like a real socialist back in the day. I'm not saying it's right, but he actually cared about America. He said, we can't just bring in all these immigrants and it's going to raise the wages. It's going to take. He used to sound more radical than Donald Trump when he was like 60 years old. Now he's a full-blown BS artist. So it's like everyone knows it's fake, but everyone thinks it's like a little bit realer. I feel like the more you peel back the layers, you're like, no, it's almost like more equivalent to WWE. They're like, let's fight each other. Nancy Pelosi will raise money by hating Trump. Trump will raise money by fighting Nancy Pelosi. And then they're going to go back door and give Pfizer and Moderna a bunch of money. And then they're going to convince Republicans that Barack Obama wouldn't have done the same thing. Yeah, he would have. And then they'll convince Democrats that Trump's so bad for Operation Warp Speed and the vaxes. And then 3 months later, they'll flip the script and nobody even notices. It's like a big show where liberals are, in my opinion, the most controllable. They're like, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to take it. It's just like, you're not even a thing. You're just like, they're like taking you in a, it's like, I don't believe in big crowds unless it's Lollapalooza, but then I need to put on my mask. But then you can't play tennis with two people. But then I'm going to burn things down for George Floyd and meet in the streets of Hollywood. It's like, what do you guys believe? I believe what the TV tells me to believe. Like, what did Ariana Grande say? I believe what she said. It's like, you don't know what you're like. They're just being manipulated. And then the right, it's a little better, but it's like the conversations I've had last year. Some guys in my comment section, I mean, I shouldn't give it attention, but he's saying Sticks won the debate. It's some guy debated. He's a libertarian who likes Trump so much. He tried to make the case that printing trillions of dollars in 2020 doesn't mess up the economy. It doesn't add to inflation. Inflation has to happen. It can't take 15 months. Of course it could take 15 months. You can't just shut the economy down on a state level, all 40, 49, 50 states or whatever shut down. And then you're just writing all these things, give you $600, give Pfizer this and that. You can't do that. So it's like people love Trump so much, they're willing to literally make excuses for socialism. Socialism sucks. And then their party does literal socialism on the cusp of like full-blown communism. And they're like, well, when my team does it, when my team does communism, it's not communism because I hate Biden. It's like, what? I'm not saying Biden's helping inflation. He's a moron. But that doesn't mean when your party does it last year that it's good. But people are they'll sit in my comment for 3 hours. Bro, the joke's on you. You've been here for 2 hours saying he won. If you think a libertarian who thinks that printing $6 trillion, $5 trillion doesn't add to inflation, if you think that's winning, no offense, you lost, bro. You have a fake account. You've been here for 2 hours and you follow a Satanist 666 mark of the beast devil boy who lives in Europe, who's trying to tell you that libertarianism is okay if Trump prints a lot of money. You lose, bro. You could say I lost the debate. You lose life. I'm sorry. Someone said I call it a draw. If you're a man or a woman and you're above the age of 5 and you don't understand the difference between it can't be a draw when I'm telling the truth and he's just making shit up. Well, you called him a name. Yeah, I mean it. I think he's stupid and anyone who agrees with him stupid. I'm sorry if that's mean. It's like if that's your idea of a draw, you shouldn't even be tuning in right now. You should go listen to someone like that. There is no draw when someone is full-blown lying through their teeth and it's satanic. I'm just going to say. He has the mark of the beast in his name. That's the devil. So what does the devil do? I'm not saying he's the devil, but the devil lies. What is a great deception? Coming in, getting an audience of libertarians and conservatives, and then telling them that libertarianism and conservative doesn't matter because Orange Man good, and when he prints trillions of dollars, he doesn't mess with inflation. That's like straight up satanic. If you think that's a draw, you shouldn't be listening. You should listen to the Satan devil boy who deceives conservatives and libertarians. I don't care. You could say this forever. It's like, I'm winning life. I won that. If that's a win to you, that's pathetic. And this is why this stuff happens. Conservatives, and I have to say this, it's bigger than the debate. There's two types of conservatives. There's more than that, but I'm just going to simplify it for this talk. There's conservatives who know that the Republican Party is not doing enough. Those people like me. They don't take threats when I talk about Trump or the Republican Party. I'm a registered Republican. I voted for Trump. What they did last year was disgraceful. And to be quite frank, what they're doing this year is disgraceful too. They're all in some ways in on it. When I say that, conservatives who are strong and smart and actually know what's going on say, finally, somebody's saying it. I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of becoming a watered down version of the Democrats 5 years ago. That's the Republican Party, fiscally, economically, socially. They're further left than the Democrats were 10 years ago. They're on a railroad to hell. They're just the caboose, and the Democrats are driving, and they're putting on a show. The conservatives who know that that's happening, they say, finally, somebody's not just a shill, and like, I'm not just going around to these events, like speaking, saying, I'm so great, Gil, and everyone's clapping for me, like, Anomaly's the best. I get recognized everywhere I go, but I'm just saying, like, I mean what I say. I'm the real deal. These people just grift and say, oh, well, they don't care. They don't give a shit about you. They're just, oh, yeah, we're fine. They're not doing anything. Those people like what I say. Then there's people who spend more time complaining about me saying that. Not only are you not doing anything to hold the GOP accountable, not only are you not doing anything to stop the Overton window from moving, but you're actually feeding into the socialism, the communism, and the Democratic Party because you see it as a threat. No, Donald Trump's fighting my hero. He's my hero. It's like, you're not only not doing anything, but you're trying to stop me from doing anything. So it's bigger than a debate with one guy who you guys clearly can't see is just full of shit. It's like it's an energy. That type of beta energy belongs in Europe. I mean what I say. That's why Australia's locked down. That's why UK is a shell of America. No offense. That's that energy that they've had for hundreds of years. And that's why they're sitting ducks. In America, we have Texas. We have Arkansas. We have Louisiana. We have Arizona. We have even Colorado. It's a mountainous region, so the liberals are more conservative there. We have these areas. We're not a bunch of beta boys. We have the First Amendment, we have the Second Amendment, and we have that energy, that American energy, that patriot energy that says, I'm not going to sit and make excuses for tyranny. Go to Europe if you want to do that. Have tea, drink cigarettes, smoke cigarettes at 9 a.m. in the morning and say, hey, mate, why are we being locked down again? That's that bait. No offense. I love Europe. I love Europeans. I have European blood mostly. I'm Italian, Polish, etc. But that's the energy they have. Go have these conversations about why you're being locked down. That's why you get locked down. So it's like these people who not only won't do anything, but they act like these snarky beta, like satanic pseudo intellectuals. They're like, I'm a libertarian Trump supporter who thinks that libertarianism doesn't matter when Donald Trump's not. It's like, cool, stay in Europe and bring all these betas with you to Europe. That's why we lose everything. This is what America is, a bunch of people making excuses for tyranny. If enough people act like me, it's, oh, you're emotional. No, it's called passionate. I'm a real man. I do this in real life too. You know, it's not like an act I put on here. I really live this life. I really do this stuff because I'm not caving to tyranny. And I'm certainly not going to use my audience to just dupe a bunch of Trump supporters and libertarians into thinking that communism and socialism is trendy if it happens via the Republican Party and the Democratic Party in 2020. That's why it happens, because there's nobody who actually calls it out. So there's two types of conservatives. The ones who are like, finally, someone's calling out the weakness, and the ones who cling on to the weakness, who act like snarky betas. It's like talking to a liberal in a conservative's body. It's like, well, I use big words and I say ad hominem. Yeah, I'm calling you low IQ because I think you're stupid and I think you're a beta and I think you should stay in Europe. I mean that. It's, yeah, you can call it what you want. It's like when you call Sleepy Joe. Did people say that to Trump? You got all these Trump supporters. Anomaly lost the debate because he called a mean name. You let Donald Trump call Rosie O'Donnell disgusting and he sits and calls Sleepy Joe. Do you say, oh, that's an ad hominem? No, you laugh because it's hilarious, because it's funny. But then he also has content. You know, it's part of it. It's like, no, I think you're a sleepy guy. Like you can call it an ad hominem, but like Joe Biden seems like he's not all the way there. So you should be allowed to comment on it. You know, it's not like, oh, you lost the debate because you called him a mean name. No, it's funny. He's a sleepy guy. He needs to go take a nap, you know? Well, Trump could say it, but anomaly. It's like, just take the weak energy somewhere else. This is why the Republicans do what they do. I said something about Ted Cruz. He'll see it. I'm not acting like I'm that special, but people are like, I'm calling Ted Cruz. Anomaly, I saw your video. When hundreds of thousands of people do something, the GOP is like, oh shit, they realize that we're in on it too. We got to stop doing this. You know, they keep moving the Overton window. So it's deeper than a debate. I'm dead serious. If you think that person won, go watch their videos. They'll have all these snarky pseudo-intellectual takes where they'll just be riding Trump's coattails for years. And you'll get brainwashed and being like, oh yeah, we're draining the swamp. Like, no, you're not. That's fine. Or look at the content that I'm doing and listen to what I'm saying. It's deeper than just a conversation or debate. America will thrive when enough people put their foot down, and Europe and Australia are failing because they don't have enough men there that actually do something. So if you're that type of guy that you want to get more annoyed at me taking a stand than you are with the fact that your idols and politicians didn't take a stand, you're not only not helping, you're trying to stop me from helping. And I'm not acting I'm that special, but what I do does have an impact, and they see it and they hear it. And when enough people hear it and step up, that's when all this changes. Not when some skinny, scrawny, satanic, mark of the beast devil boy who runs to Europe makes excuses for communism and dupes a bunch of libertarians. Well, he used big words. It's like, yeah, you could watch Chris Hayes. He'll probably do the same thing. He'll be like, well, technically from an intellectual's perspective, I checked out the data and it turns out that Donald Trump said Lysol. It's like, yeah, it's the same snarky, pseudo-intellectual, fake, deceptive, like thing they do on MSNBC. It's like, well, I graduated at Yale and I have 8 degrees. It's like, you're still a moron though. That's fine. That's awesome. I could use big words too. I'm a poet. I like the dictionary. I have a pretty good vocabulary, but the content of what you're saying is more important than the little act you put on, So it's like if someone's putting on an act, oh, I'm staying so calm. you're staying calm, but you're telling libertarians to print money. It's okay when Donald Trump, who cares? Like that's going to attract those type of people. And I'm saying I could care less if those type of people tune out. It's not a show. Someone said Australia is a prison. I'll say this. I'm not going to say who. I spoke to somebody in Australia. Somebody was trying to do business with me. And like, they were like, maybe you could work for this, blah, blah, blah. It's a publication or whatever. It never panned out, but whatever. We had conversations. We talked 8 months ago. And I told them everything that I'm saying now, everything that I said then. I'm like, dude, this is super tyrannical. They're going to try to force the jab, blah, blah, blah. I'm taking a hardline stance last year against all this shit. And he was saying, I like him, but he was like, kind of like playing along. He's like, well, we trust our government here. We're going to follow along. We're locking down, but they're going to open up. And I'm like, I don't know about all that, bro. And then I talked to him recently and he's like a little panicked because it's like, dude, they're locking us down. There's no end in sight. That's the difference between like, there's certain energy where it's like, in Australia and Europe, and I'm not saying they don't have freedom fighters out there, but they're more obedient. That's the culture. It's like and they'll admit that. It's like they trust the government more. America's like built off not trusting the government and leaving a shitty government to form America. So that type of energy, you get what you put in. If you have that type of energy as a country, you get locked down. I'm sorry, Australia, you need more alpha, or at least like people who actually stand up for themselves there. Same with Europe. Like, so in America, we have that here. I don't need like satanic libertarians and like weak conservatives being like, well, no, Emily, that's the best we can do. It's like, if that's the best you could do, that's all you're going to get. I'm not accepting that in my reality. So if enough people reject it, it all goes away. But you got more people in the Republican Party who want to make excuses for what happened in 2020 than actually want to stand up against 2020. If you take a stand against it, it all disappears. But I'll tell you what, on the influencer side, there's a benefit to just going along with your team. How many people that interviewed Donald Trump as a Republican, how many people asked him tough questions? None. I mean, Laura Ingraham one time 3 years ago. It's like Joe Biden with the left. Like when Joe Biden, what type of ice cream did you eat? Chocolate chip. It's like, dude doesn't even know what ice cream. He probably lost his taste. He can't even taste. But anyway, it's like, you watch the left-wing press, they're a joke. They ask them, make them look so great. The right-wing press with Trump, I think the right-wing press is better. But with Trump, they're not. They give him these softball questions. They're like they're like fans. It's like a Red Hot Chili Peppers fans at a concert. They're like, oh my God, Daddy. Like, how did you do all? No. How come no one asked him, what about Operation Warp Speed? How come you took $2.5 million according to Open Secrets from Big Pharma? Is this really about our health, or are you being paid off like every other politician? Has anyone asked him that? Of course not, because there's an advantage. You can get invited to Mar-a-Lago. You're a cool boy. Maybe TPUSA will book you. And I'm not, I have a lot of friends who do stuff, and that's awesome. I'm just saying, these people, they don't challenge Trump and they don't challenge their party that often because there's a real price to pay, socially and connection wise. I don't care though. I built this all by myself. I own it all by myself. And to be quite frank, nobody booked me when I got 600 million views, and certain people cared and certain people, I don't really give a shit. If they want to book me, that's fine. If they don't, I don't really want to go anyway. I'd rather take a vacation or like work from Hawaii or something. But, they're not doing this type of stuff because they really care. It's like working at a company. If you get the jab, you get to travel. It's the same thing in the Republican Party. If you act like Trump's the perfect boy, you go, how did Dan Bongino ask him tough questions? Did anybody on Fox? I'm not trying to be mean, but nobody asked this guy any questions. I like Trump, but like, can somebody ask him a real question on the right wing? What did I say to Ted Cruz? Well, Ted Cruz posted a tweet and he said, hey, it's time that the vaccinated take their masks off on an airplane. So Ted Cruz was saying vaccinated people should be allowed to take their masks off on the airplane. He specifically worded it that way to say that only vaccinated people should be able to take their masks off. So I looked at that and I said something probably very rude or very mean. And I made a video about it and got hundreds of thousands of views. And I told everybody, if I were at an event with Ted Cruz, I would say, boo, you should apologize for that stupid vaccination segregation statement. So people started catching on to it. A lot of people messaged me, said I wrote emails to him. I called him. I mean, I get a lot of views. And I haven't seen it, but apparently someone told me that he deleted it off his social media. He got shamed for his stupid tweet about vaccination segregation, like he should have as a public servant. And he probably won't say that anymore. So that's what happens when you stand up for yourself. It's not like I'm this bad person. Sticks won the debate. Then go to Europe and be a beta male. If Sticks and all these other influencers did what I did, there wouldn't be a two-party system that worships a foreign nation and sells out to big pharma. There wouldn't be a 3-month lockdown in Republican areas. There wouldn't be Republicans who sit up there like Sarah Huckabee Sanders, goes to the least jabbed area and tells them all to get the Trump jab. That's not 40 chess. It's like these people are, and Sticks is the same way. They're communists when it matters. During the lockdown, during all this stuff, they're making excuses for socialism, communism, medical tyranny, and just reckless money printing, which, by the way, is the exact opposite of libertarianism. Sticks is a total fraud. If you go to a libertarian festival, no one will agree with him because that's the whole opposite of what libertarianism is about. Being conservative fiscally and calling out the Federal Reserve, not printing trillions of dollars because your name is Donald Trump. But anyway, if people actually said something, the deception would be gone and these people would feel the need to actually listen to the people. But they don't have to because everyone claps like seals. They're like, yay, we're fighting the left, we're fighting the right. That's part of it. So I don't really care what people think. I get it. I know what everyone thinks. That's why our country got locked down for 4 months. So I'm trying to move the Overton window back towards sanity, and these snarky people who want to keep the Overton window there and make excuses for it, you could do nothing for me on any level. So someone said, I wonder how many people in these comments are prepared for the climate lockdowns, loss of electricity stores, banks. Are you ready? I don't like to fearmonger, but I definitely think they're going to try a climate lockdown, and they're already talking about blackouts and stuff. Someone said, why no update on Rumble? I just don't use Rumble that much. Maybe I should. All right, where are we at? 204. I got to go in a minute or two. Someone said my QI is above 9,000, and your name's Mark Twain. Shout out to Mark Twain. He's very smart. I don't know if that's the real Mark Twain or not. Probably not, since he's dead. Someone said freedom. JT Hill said, JT, what's up? He said, people need to realize you don't serve a political party or politician, serve God only, and that's where we get our freedom. I agree completely. And I think a lot of people learn that. And I think more and more people will learn that. It's a big rat race, but I do think once there's always something that teaches you something in life. Like I learned from both sides. I was never into politics. This is me in politics. I never liked politics. I thought it was fake. I got in, I got hurricaned around in a circle, and now I came out and I'm like, okay, it's all a learning process. But I think when people see through it and serve God over like a politician or a party, that's when the real wins come. But I have my preferences politically. I just have a different philosophy than some people. Some people think they need to fight the radical left and just like ride the coattails of the right wing. I don't think that works. I think the right wing and the Republican Party, if you look at everything they do, fiscally, economically, socially, everything, they are a shell of what they once were. Last year, Donald Trump, whether you love him or hate him, I think the first 3 years he did great. Last year was a difficult one, but every bit of him, fiscally, economically, socially, he's further left than a Democrat from like 1980s or 1990. Like that's how politics works. It's a big WWE show. Sometimes you get your win, sometimes you don't, but they take what's acceptable through media manipulation and through education manipulation and take what's socially acceptable. In the 70s, both parties are not that different. Both parties are Christian. Both parties will not do certain things. And they slowly move it to the point where the Republican Party from now is worse than the Democratic Party from the John Kennedy era. That's what they're doing. They didn't stop doing that under Trump. They did the same thing under Trump. And Trump in 2020 turned into a nightmare, what he was doing, what the Republicans were doing. Were the Democrats worse? Aren't they always at this point? But does that mean that that's okay to go from here to here just because the Democrats are worse? Well, the Republicans got pretty shitty too. And I see so that's my philosophy is they're moving the Overton window. They're tricking both people into doing the same things and going in the same direction. That's why when I take a stand, I don't care who doesn't like it. I don't care who. It's not just sticks. There's a bunch of influencers who cry, well, anomalies this, anomalies that. These people, let them talk all they want. Let's see their news analysis videos. They don't exist because they don't do news analysis. They read headlines and just ride Trump's coattails. My worst video is better than their best video. I have hundreds of news analysis videos that are so good that I go on vacation, I come back and I have more views than I had when I started. So I'll continue doing great work. People can continue to make up shit about me, and my videos will continue to blow theirs away. I don't care who doesn't agree with it because they don't get the philosophy of what's going on. And that is the Overton window is moving. And some people are so obsessed with Trump, they don't want to admit that that happened in 2020. It's not to blame him. I don't hate him. I understand what federalism is. I understand what he could and couldn't do. But if you don't understand the game that's being played, you're going to lose. And me, as an American citizen, I'm sorry. I'm tired of these losers making excuses with their platform for tyranny. I'm tired of them making excuses for medical tyranny. I'm tired of them making excuses for money printing communism. I'm tired of them making excuses for everything that happened in 2020. That's why they do it. Because they know that no one cares. There's going to be people online. I'm a libertarian, but it's like, just shut up. You're just a blabbermouth. It's like, take a stand, do something. If enough people did something, it's over. So I don't care who says what. I really don't. I'm used to it now. I get it. And I'm past the point of no return. So I'm focused on doing good work, being honest, and being a good person, being a good citizen. For the rest, let them talk. I don't care. Someone said, what would I have recommended Trump do when our country had COVID coming? I'm a thoughtful person. I don't want to go over this too much because I've said it a lot, but I'm very thoughtful. I'm very understanding. I'm not going to act like he should have reinvented the wheel and saw everything coming. But I'll tell you this. I could go through month by month and I could tell you where he was lying or misleading people. And I said it then. So when he first shut down, he said there were going to be 15 days. I'm going to walk it through real quick. 15 days to slow the spread. He said he was going to open up. He realized the deception like everyone else, and he flipped. I know people don't remember this because they like him so much, but he said he was going to open up on Easter, and he decided to call for the lockdown of the states. Yes, federalism exists, but also Donald Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. He's like a coach. If he said open up, they probably would have opened up. So he told them to close down again because he looked at a model behind him and apparently got fooled by Fauci or was working with them or thought the deaths were going to be bad, whatever. So he took the stance on Easter after 15 days to lock down further. In April, he was lying with his platform about Sweden. I was doing reporting on Sweden all April. I said, Sweden's not doing that bad. Sweden is not 100 times worse because Sweden, believe it or not, didn't do a mask mandate and they didn't do a lockdown. They allowed businesses to open. And that's freedom. That's the stance America should have took. America should have led the world in freedom, right? Isn't that why we wear these hats and stuff? Because we're the freedom capital of the world. Well, Sweden ended up being more open than America, and Trump kept lying about Sweden. James Woods was lying about Sweden. I'm not going to get into it, but most conservatives were lying about Sweden because Team Red now means lockdowns. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with these people? I'm crunching the numbers and I'm telling Trump, Sweden's not doing that bad. And eventually Sweden was doing better than America without a lockdown. So Trump was using his platform and his position in the White House to tell people, I'm saving lives with my lockdown and Sweden's really bad for opening. Take politics, Trump, left, right. What message does that tell you? It tells you freedom bad, business bad, lockdown's good. Georgia opened up before all the other states and said, we're going to open up tattoo parlors, gyms, and spas, which are for people's health, gyms and spas, not tattoo parlors. But anyway, Trump said he didn't agree with them. So Trump was on the wrong side of history for months. He was wrong and stupid. He's like, well, I'll let you do it, but I don't agree. So he's not helpful. And then he did Operation Warp Speed, and then he did the CARES Act. And the CARES Act was one of the biggest, scammiest bills ever. The CARES Act was a $2 trillion bill, which probably screwed over the nation for longer than you can imagine, because when you close down commerce and just print a bunch of money or create a bunch of digital money that doesn't exist, what do you think that's going to do to not only the economy, not only to people who lost out with their businesses, but to our currency, okay? So he signed the CARES Act, and one Republican stood up against him, Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie says this is a scam, and they're trying to do it in secret, so you don't even know who voted on it, which should be illegal. And Trump said, kick Thomas Massie out of the Republican Party. Thomas Massie's a third-rate Republican, blah, blah, blah. This bill's so great. Trump turned into a socialist and a communist, and no one even realized it. So I could go from then until November, but he's been wrong about so much crap. He deceived his entire base. People like Styx Hexenhammer, the devil, Mark of the Beast boy who runs to Europe, makes excuses for it. And it's been all that. It's been a year and a half. He's out of office. Where are all his emails about, hey, I'm totally against vaccine passports. I'm so sorry that they're trying to force this on you. I'm sorry that millions of my supporters are being forced to product their rest. He doesn't give a crap. He doesn't say almost anything about it. Once in a while, he'll go out and say, I think it's your choice, but it's so great. I did it. I rushed the FDA. He sucks. What he did in 2020 is disgusting. He's on the wrong side of history, and people are so into him more than they're into Jesus Christ and God that they don't even realize that he did that. They think it's all the Democrats. I mean, what do I disagree with on Trump? I mean, a lot of stuff from 2020. I'm not going to act like he should have known in January or March, but you assume that he's doing all these things for you. Look at Ivanka Trump's Twitter. He struck a deal with Moderna in January. That's what Ivanka says. So he struck a deal with Moderna in January. That's a little weird. That's cool, though. Yeah, he's really ahead of the curve. He said, well, we're going to stay open. We're going to lock down. Oh, we're going to funnel a bunch of money to Big Pharma. Looking open. How come I'm the only one to come? Anomaly is such a sellout. No, I'm telling you the truth. I didn't take $2.5 million from Big Pharma. According to Open Secrets, Donald Trump took $2.5 million from Big Pharma. Joe Biden took $8 million. So clearly Big Pharma supported Joe Biden more than Donald Trump. But isn't that what they always do? Lobby this person and lobby this person. So am I the sellout? Do I have money from Big Pharma? No, I'm the least sold out person in this entire movement. All these people calling me sellouts, they're the sellouts. I get all my money. I could tell you where I get it. Facebook, YouTube, all these things, 100%. I keep it all. I have nothing. Everything I've created, I made for myself. I keep for myself. Who's the sellout? Me or the people who go speak at these events where they're not doing shit, or people who are taking $2.5 million from pharma? So maybe I didn't sell out, and maybe the person that you worship is being a politician. So, in general, I give him the pass on a bunch of stuff, but his leadership was trash. His leadership now is completely trash. And in the pinnacle of the Great Reset, as some would call it, and it's not a conspiracy theory. It's literally a book by Klaus Schwab that I own and I'm reading. But in the midst of vaccine passports, Donald Trump is talking about everything but that. He gives like no energy to that because it's all about him and his crowd size and how he did Operation Warp Speed. Yeah, he funneled a bunch of money to Big Pharma, hired Big Pharma lobbyists for his position at HHS, and took money just like Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. He just took more than Bernie and less than Joe Biden. So, it is what it is. It's politics. I get it. I don't hate him. I'm not blaming him for everything, but this is why we accomplish nothing, because people are just running in circles, but it's all good. How is Getter? I don't know. I don't use it. But anyway, with the pharma lobbyist stuff, who will tell you about that? And you think for example, if somebody gives me information and says, hey, check this out. Someone showed me that. I looked it up. It was real. I was like, holy crap. Joe Biden took a shitload of money from Big Pharma. Donald Trump took a lot of money from Big Pharma. Even Bernie Sanders took money from Big Pharma. It's just open stuff. Is Fox going to cover that? Maybe Tucker might, but nobody else would. Are any of these other Trump supporters that go around? Are they going to? Of course not. Their whole existence is pro-Trump. They don't care if he does communism. They don't care if he sells out to Big Pharma. They don't care if he's saying Sweden's bad for having Sweden. So how am I the sellout when I'm here just calling it like I see it? And these people know damn well that it's happening, but everybody's afraid, just like people are afraid with the jab. Well, if I don't get the jab, I'm going to lose my job. This is how a lot of Republicans feel. If I tell the truth, I can't go speak at this event. If I tell the truth, I just don't care. I really don't. And a lot of these people, I think there's like a caste system as far as like, who will listen. They like people who listen. They don't want somebody that they know is going to say something honest. So I don't really care. It's not to compare, but people that are like, anomaly changed his tune. It's like, no, I just told you that both presidents that you could have voted for took money from Big Pharma. Who's going to say that? No one. Because it's not because it's not true. That it's not. What if a pro-Trump page puts up that Trump took money from Big Pharma. Is that going to go well? Maybe, but who knows? Someone said Fox sold out pushing the V's. Every major network, that's their big sponsor. One of the biggest lobbyists in Washington is the pharmacy industry. Everybody knows this. So when it comes to the Democrat and Republican Party, maybe they really care about science. Maybe they really care about medicine. I'm willing to admit it. But for my whole life, we were told when lobbyists pay money, they get something in return. It shouldn't be a controversial statement to say that's what lobbyists do. Whether it's APAC or the pharmacy industry, they're paying money, they're holding events, and they're trying to get something out of it. That's just the way politics works, is it not? So if the pharmacy lobby is one of the most expensive ones in Washington, maybe, just maybe Anomaly's crazy, but maybe Democrats and Republicans are taking money from Big Pharma, so they do what Big Pharma wants. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just really care about you, and this is really what they believe, or maybe they're getting paid off. I don't know. That's for you to decide. When it goes to Fox News or CNN, who's the big sponsor? Who's one of the biggest sponsors on television? Big Pharma. Every commercial. When I was young, cereal, milk, video games, Ninja Turtles. Now, commercials used to be fun. The items were trash, but whatever. Commercials used to be fun. What is it when you watch TV? It's like you're in a hospital. The TV's disgusting. Commercials are toxic. I don't even like watching TV because the commercials make me feel sick. Every commercial. It's not like the 90s. Pharmacy pill, lawyer, pill, lawyer for the pill that they told you to take 10 years ago. The pill with the side effects. The pill. That's all television. So I'm not saying what to watch, but Fox News takes money from the pharmacy industry. CNN takes money from the pharmacy industry. Tucker Carlson has balls, and he does his job. As for the rest of them, maybe that's how they feel. Maybe the pharmacy industry is paying off the TVs. Maybe not, though. Maybe that's just, they're just buying commercial space or whatever, and they're doing what they want. But maybe there's lobbying. And anybody that knows anybody that works in the pharmacy industry, do you know how much lobbying goes? The whole industry is about lobbying. They're lobbying them. They're paying money to see them. They want this influence. That's the whole thing. That's what they do. They have a huge budget and they want to sell their product. So it's like people act like I'm making this crap up. It's like I'm not knocking anybody. Maybe they really care about you, but it's like maybe this industry has become bigger than politics to the point where everybody just bows down. And if people don't bow down around the world, eventually they do. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong though. Someone said Geraldo, hilarious. Geraldo is like, never mind. That guy for years, he does just enough to be conservative, but he's always wrong when it matters. I'm not going to say he's control, whatever you want to say, but it's like that guy sucks. He gets up there, he looks like a news guy, and then he has the shittiest takes on immigration, the shittiest takes on forced vaccination. Like, I don't want to watch that channel. Like, a bunch of people like fighting all the time. Like, rah, rah, rah. It's like, then the commercials are pill commercial. So there's probably a reason they're doing that, but who knows? I'm going to read this real quick. Nate said, I understand the pharmacy campaign contribution thing, but you're hammering the worshiping Trump position is way overstated. Sorry. I don't believe that's a primary motivation of the right. You could think that, but listen, people who know that happens are not offended by it. And maybe you are, and maybe you're the man. And I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying, like, millions of people literally worship Trump more than they worship Christ. If that doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you. But I find the people who know that that's true admit that that's true. And the people that do that, I've heard Trump's returning, Trump's coming back on the pastors have replaced Jesus is coming back on August with Trump is coming back in August. And it's not true. And it's going to be September. And they all lied to you again. So I'm not saying everybody who likes Trump worships him, but seriously, as somebody who voted for him, as somebody who's went to an event, as somebody who's very well loved among Trump people, I never talked down to Trump supporters. I always knew they were lied about by the media. Everything was a lie. I defended Trump supporters and Trump for 4 years. I am not somebody who smears them irrationally, but I have to say, looking in some forums and at some pages, For some people, it has become a religion and it has become a worship thing. They call him the God Emperor. They literally will not question him. It's not wrong to point out the fact that a politician is taking pharmacy money. That's what you should do. You should understand. He's claiming to drain the swamp, and he fills up the swamp with swamp creatures. They're keeping main positions that he had in office during Joe Biden. Why? Because the people he hired were not a threat to the people that he claimed to fight. He said he was going to do all this stuff, and then his own supporters got locked up. I'm not blaming him for everything, but it's like it's not an overstatement to say people are worshiping him. It's the truth. And anybody who likes him and voted for him, who sees that it's happening, Nate said you're stereotyping. I'm not stereotyping. I never said everybody's doing it. You probably worship Trump, no offense, and you're offended by it. People that don't worship him like that or did at a certain point and realize it, I'll admit I'm not above it. I think I always did pretty good reporting, and I never like full blown went into it. But personally, at a certain point, I was hoping that he did all these things. So I took it to a level that it shouldn't have been taken to. And now that I'm out of it, I see what I did, and I never ignored things, but I was hoping that he would do certain things and drop certain bad things, but he never did that. So as somebody who probably did worship him too much at a certain point, I identified that, and it's still happening. So I'm not talking down to people or stereotyping. Not everyone does that, but way too many people do that. And I'll tell you what, brother, when I watch people, everybody on the right, when Kristi Noem does one little thing, and I agree, they jump down her throat. And I'm not mad at it. I think I'm not trying to say they should do anything mean, but she's a politician. It's not a freaking Build-A-Bear. You know, she is leading South Dakota. And if she does shitty stuff, you should call her out. People jump down her throat in a split second. Donald Trump has done 20 times worse things than she did yesterday, and nobody wants to talk it. I'm the only one who calls it out. Fox City Midge is now calling it out. You know, I'm not acting. There's people who've called it out even before me. I'm not the originator, but it's like, what would you call that? Call it what you want. Some people worship the guy. They jump down the throat of other Republicans for doing this, which is totally fine. But when Trump does 50 times that, they act like, well, he just got misled by his advisors. Anomaly, you shouldn't say that. It's so cruel. I mean, yeah, he took money from Big Pharma, but how dare you? It's like, you're proving my point. You know, it's you people baby him. And I'm not even mad at it. I'm having a good time. The excuses that I look at are like hilarious. Like I'm not even mad anymore. It's seriously hilarious to me. Like the most common excuse on my Twitter, if I say something that's not even that bad, they'll be like, he got fooled. And I'm like, okay, I could maybe agree. Like I'm not mad at it, but like he got fooled. So you're following a fool? Like you love this guy and you act like he's saving the whole, but then like you're admitting that you're following a leader who is too foolish to even lead himself. Like, it's like people think he's so dumb. To me, that's rude. I don't think Trump is dumb. I think he's smart. I think he's calculated. I think he's a great salesman. I think he's a great builder. And I think he's a great politician. I don't think he's an idiot. People who love Trump act like he's a moron, like baby. They're like, he doesn't know anything ever. I mean, he really tried really hard getting in, but the day he got in office, he just couldn't figure anything out. It's like, do you think he's dumb? And I don't think he's dumb, and I don't blame him for it. But like, it's like people put him in this position that's larger than human. So if Kristi Noem, if I were to put Kristi Noem and Trump and flip flop them, I would say the same things about Kristi Noem that I said about Donald Trump, because I actually believe what I'm saying. It's not about personality. I don't hate Trump. I voted for him. You could say I love Trump more than I loved any human being in politics in my whole life. I loved that guy more than I liked any other politician. Like, I've given him way more passes than anyone else ever because he did so many funny, cool things. So you get what I'm saying? If they flipped, I'd say the same thing. But if you flip those two, most Trump supporters would not do it. They do not hold Trump to the same standards. I'm not being mean, but there's pages on Twitter I follow that I really like. Hate me now, I'm sure, because I was talking, like, Colombian Bugle does great work on Twitter, constantly calling out neocons, constantly calling out fake Republicans, constantly taking an America First stance and taking a hardline stance for conservatives. I love Columbia Bugle, but he takes such a hardline stance. He goes so hard on Republicans. He calls out all the neocons. He calls out all the rhinos. And when it comes to Trump, he doesn't say shit. And he acts like Trump's like a moron or something. He's like, well, it's like, bro, like at a certain point, it is very culty. It is very worshipy. It's like they don't hold this guy to the same standards as everyone else. If Kristi Noem did half of what Trump did, they're jumping down her throat. If Trump does 20 times what she does, they're acting like he just doesn't know what he's doing. It's like at a certain point, it's kind of like goofy. It's like, like these people have created a movement and a religion around a person who isn't doing what they thought he would have done in that situation, and they just can't admit it. So I'm not trying to like pick fights or something, but I'm like, you do such great work, but when it comes to Trump, you act like you don't see it all. It's like he's fighting McConnell. It's like he's doing good stuff, but at a certain point, in order to move the movement forward, you have to go to the top of it. Trump is on top. Trump is the leader of you're not winning in the next 10 years if you don't get on Trump's side in the Republican Party. So if he's leading people the wrong way and you're admitting he's not doing what he should do because he's following the wrong people, and you're following somebody that's not even following God or following themselves, what does that say about you? That's what I'm talking about. And I see it at a certain point. I promise you, what I'm saying, everyone's going to realize right now. And what I said in April and March of last year, everyone's going to realize. I don't care who says what about me, because I said this all last April. How many of these people that want to debate me, how many of these people that want to critique me, how many of them said in March before the lockdown that this was going to lead to more censorship, mandatory vaccination? I said that mandatory vaccinations were coming before Operation Warp Speed ever existed. And they're acting like, he didn't even. It's like, I knew about it. If you didn't, that's fine. But what were they saying? They were probably like 15 days. Trump's going to lead us, drain the swamp, and arrest the pedophiles. Like, you wanted him to do that, but he didn't. So it's like these people are going to catch up, and it's going to get more and more popular because as time goes on, either Trump's going to get it together and be a different leader, or he's going to be a joke. Like it's time to talk about vaccine passports. It's time to talk about medical tyranny. It's time to talk about vaccination segregation. It's time to take a hardline stance for pro-freedom. It's time to address the situation that's engulfing the planet. It's not time to march around the country talking about how great 2018 was because Black unemployment was down, and how you did a NAFTA trade deal, and how you're the vaccine salesman. I call him Grandpa Moderna. Grandpa Moderna. That's a good nickname for him. He's Grandpa Moderna. He goes around the country talking about 2018, talking about all his past accomplishment, bragging about the vaccine for 2 minutes, and then he'll say for like 5 seconds, well, you can take it if you want to, but I suggest you get it. He's not a good leader. Either he gets his act together or he leads people to the slaughter. So I don't care who. I really don't. I really just don't anymore. I didn't care last March. I didn't care last April. I've been saying the same things for over a year now, and eventually people are going to catch up. Because eventually these things that you think are going to happen aren't going to happen because no one's doing it, and it's fine. But Grandpa Moderna is a funny nickname. Donnie the vaccine salesman, he's a vaccine salesman. He's selling vaccines. When we need a leader to take a harsh, hardline stance against medical tyranny, he's out selling the product that they're forcing down our throats. He's a shitty leader for the freedom movement. He's a great leader for Big Pharma. He's a great leader for the Uniparty. He's a great leader for Moderna. I mean, heck, who's doing more for Moderna than besides Bill Gates and Donald Trump? He's a great leader for Pfizer. He's a great advocate for Johnson & Johnson. He says Johnson & Johnson's a great company and they never should have pulled that off the market. Okay, he's not a great leader for American freedom. He's a vaccine salesman. And last April, he was a salesman for communism. And I said that last April. Do you want me to read my tweet from last April? I said last April, literally, he's lying about Sweden, he's pushing communism, and he's trying to smear Sweden for not locking down in April. So this is not new to me. Oh, no, they switched up. It's like, no, you guys, you're just 2 years behind me. That's why people watch me, because they hear a story and then it happens in 3 years and you're still wrong about it when it happens. And they heard it, they heard it 2 years ago. And I'm coming off the shoulders of people who it not only inspired me, but educated me when I was 18 and 19. The legends who came before me who, warned me of all the shit that's happening now, like the Bill Coopers and et cetera. I'm not saying they were right about everything, but they're damn sure we're onto something with lockdowns. Someone said, I'm a Trump guy, but I think DeSantis should be on the ticket. What's your thoughts? I don't want to see DeSantis run as vice president because I feel like the vice president doesn't do anything, and I think he's more effective in Florida. So if Trump tries to run again with DeSantis as vice president, to me that's a nightmare. He takes DeSantis away from Florida, and DeSantis, although he's doing things I don't like, he's doing a better job than most governors. Taking him away from Florida and being a non-usable character for Donald Trump, I'm not voting for Trump again. I'll vote for Rand Paul, Thomas Massey. I'm not voting for Trump again. If he wins the thing and it's him versus Joe Biden, I'll probably have to. But as far as like supporting him in the primaries, it's just not happening. He had his chance. He blew it in 2020. He seriously, to me, it used to be Trump, Rand Paul, Tulsi Gabbard, and everybody else could do nothing for me. Like, I didn't really like anybody in politics. Now, I wouldn't even consider Trump a top 5 Republican. He's not a good leader right now. Thomas Massey's a better leader than him right now. Rand Paul's a better leader than him right now. For all of his shortcomings, Ron DeSantis is a better leader than him right now. Marjorie Taylor Greene is even a better leader. Candace Owens is a better leader than him. Trump sucks right now. Trump sucks. Candace Owens is crushing it. She's calling out medical tyranny. Marjorie Taylor Greene's calling out medical tyranny. Ron Paul's doing decent. Thomas Massey is killing them all. He's just not as popular yet. Trump sucks. He's not even a top 5 Republican right now. He's not saying shit. He's Grandpa Moderna. Grandpa Moderna, the vaccine salesman. He's not saying shit for me or anybody. No, it's like I would vote for Candace Owens unironically before Trump. She's going hard at medical tyranny. If you're not going hard at medical tyranny, you're not going to conserve anything. I don't know what he thinks he's doing, but he's not helping me. And, besides what DeSantis, et cetera, is doing, the testing is so important. Republicans, this is just another example of how they just lose and put on a show for you. It all starts with the testing. How do you count deaths? With the testing. How do you count cases? With the testing. What are they using to lock down? The death rate. What are they using to get the death rate? The testing. What did they do to extend it past? They counted deaths. What did they do to extend it again? They counted cases. The root of what's going on with COVID is how they're testing. It was true in March. I called it out in March. I said before they lowered the death rate, I said in March before they locked down, the death rate from the World Health Organization was wrong. How did I know? Because they had barely any tests. So when they were testing only, successful people, the death rate looked high because the death rate is tests, and the amount of people tested and the amount of people who died. It's an equation. It's a division equation. So if you're not testing everybody, the number is going to be higher. That was how they locked you down. Now so nobody's getting to the bottom of testing. Not Trump, not Rand Paul, not DeSantis. I'm not knocking them. They're politicians. They don't have to do everything. But in general, they're funding the test. They're promoting the test. They're pushing the test. And it all leads with the test. So first of all, how are they testing and what are they testing with? How much are they testing? If you tested for the common cold, as much as they're testing for COVID-19, you would find it a lot more. Trump was right about that. He said that, and he was damn right. That's why people like him, because he is right a lot, but he flip-flops a lot too. Anyway, so if you tested everybody for the common cold, and you said everybody who died with the common cold died from the common cold, do you think the common cold deaths would be the same as they are now? They would skyrocket. Cases would skyrocket and deaths would skyrocket. I've been diagnosed with the flu 4 times in my life. Did I ever get a flu test? I've never had a flu test. If they gave out flu tests as much as they give out COVID tests, do you think flu would stay the same? It would skyrocket, deaths and cases. So how are they counting? This is not a conspiracy theory. They are counting this way. If you have COVID and you died, we're going to mark you as a death from COVID. And they're testing so much, they're going to find it more. So I'm not saying it is the flu or it is common cold. I'm just saying this is just the reality of math and testing. If they tested as much for all these other things, the numbers would go up. So, okay, that's one thing. What kind of tests are they? It's called a PCR test. Who invented the PCR test? Kerry Mullis. What did he say about the PCR test? He said that, according to him, not me, this is the inventor of the PCR test, that it's not made to tell you whether you're sick or not. It's not a diagnosis tool. It is zooming in times 2, 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 and it's exponential. So eventually you get millions and billions of, zoom in on DNA or whatever, you're putting in it. And he said, if you go far enough, you could find anything in anybody. So as far as What are they using? What did the inventor say about it? How many cycles are they doing? If you look, they're like, we're going to change the cycles. It matters. I mean, that's the whole type of test. And then they're putting out an article about how they're using a different test, and then they're censoring the article. Tim Pool got a fact check by the CDC. He posted the CDC article about the tests and how they're changing them, and he got fact checked. And I got fact checked when I shared a Yahoo News article about it. So this is my point. The whole pandemic, the whole lockdown, the whole economic destruction, the whole everything is based off the testing. How they're counting, what they're using, how many deaths, how many cases. Who's talking about that? Trump barely mentions it. DeSantis, Trump has done things. He said, well, you know, the more you test, the more you find. But this is the heart of the pandemic. If you're funding the tests, funding big pharma, they're all doing it. They're all pushing it. They're all saying it's like, you get what I'm saying? It reminds me of John Stockton lobbying Karl Malone, and Karl Malone dunks in your face, and that's the Republicans. The Republicans are John Stockton. They lob up big pharma. They lob up mass testing. They lob up the Democrats. They lob up the CDC, and then they dunk in your face, and then the Republicans sit there, and people like Styx Hexenhammer and all these pseudo-intellectual betas, they sit there and they say, no, we didn't dunk it in your face. No. I mean, that's federalism. We didn't dunk it. We just lobbed them up to dunk it in your face. That's what the Republican Party's doing, including Trump and DeSantis. Am I grateful for DeSantis? I am. I'm glad I don't live in Australia. I'm glad Florida's not California. Trust me. I'm grateful for him. But that's kind of what the Republicans are doing. They're lobbing up the Democrats dunk it in your face, and then the Republicans sit there and sell vaccines and tell you that they're libertarians now. It's like, well, if you really want to set the country back, we can't live in a mass testing zone forever. This is never going away if they keep testing so much with the PCR test. If you did an experiment with the common cold, I'm not saying COVID's the common cold for the fact checkers. I'm just saying experiment in my own head. Common cold, we send out as many common cold tests as we send out COVID tests, okay? We send them all out. We test everybody at the hospital. We test all the athletes. We test everybody at work. We test as much as we're testing for COVID for common cold. The cases would skyrocket and the deaths would skyrocket. That would happen, okay? Has anyone ever said that besides me? I hope so, because I'm not acting like I'm that special. I wish it was said on Fox News every day, and then I wouldn't take. Have you heard anybody say that? I don't think so. So it's like they're lobbing these people, they're dunking it in your face, and then these beta, satanic boys just sit there and dupe Trump supporters, libertarians, and say, "Oh, it's like, yeah, oh yeah, they really are fighting really hard." It's like they're fighting just enough to do something, but not enough to end it in certain areas. So I'm grateful for what they're doing, but it does seem a little scammy at a certain point, And I'll say this too. I see everyone using the Charlie with the football thing. Thomas Massey's using it. I saw Michelle Malkin use it months ago. I'm not saying I invented that, because that's a Charlie Brown. That's like an old show. But I think in politics, I was one of the first people who said the Republicans are Charlie with the football. Lucy holds the football, and then they go kick it, and then she pulls it every time, and they fall for it every time. In April, I don't know why I sound like Seinfeld. I think my throat's hurting after 3 hours. But, then you have people, they're like, well, when we get the vaccine, we're going to be free. And I'm like, no, you're not. I wish you were, but it's Lucy with the football. Now, all these Republican pages are just sharing Lucy with the football. I didn't invent Charlie Brown, but I was definitely one of the first people in Republican politics to use that example for what's going on. I said that last June, and now people are just posting it on their pages. Go to all these Republican pages. They're all using Lucy with the football. I said that a year ago. If you watch my channel, you're getting what they're saying now a year. It's too late now. You guys are like a year too late. It's fine. I'm glad you're on it, but you get what I'm saying? Like, they're like, no, it's so bad. And then they copy my shit a year later. They talk shit about me and then copy my shit. And the Q people did that as well. They said Anomaly is a fake patriot. They thought the lockdown was a freaking secret plan to arrest the pedophiles. Okay. In March, I'm doing all this reporting. I'm getting hated on by Q people more than liberals. Donald Trump's got this all under control. The lockdown's the secret plan. Tom Hanks is getting arrested. I'm like, no, he's not. He's on a plane. I'm like, you guys are playing like I Spy, like a bunch of 5-year-olds thinking you're Ninja Turtles on recess break at kindergarten. And I'm out here doing real man reporting about lockdowns and freedom. And these people are crying about me for months. They're going, no, they're trust me, Chrissy Teigen, is on house arrest. I saw Ellen DeGeneres with a shirt on and she's got, ankle bracelets. And I'm like, you're on house arrest, dummies, not Ellen DeGeneres. She's on house arrest. So are you. Like, dude, we almost got Ellen DeGeneres. Bro, you're sitting on your couch and you can't even leave the house without getting arrested. Like, you're on house arrest too, not just Ellen. Anyway, they got all pissed at me for 3 months. They cried. They called me an agent or he's working for a secret agency. I'm like, you guys are idiots. 4 months later, they're copying. The lockdowns are bad. Fauci's bad. Like, bro, you're just taking the work I did in March. And after yelling at me for 3, I don't care if people copy me. I want people to copy me. I wish I didn't even have to work and everybody else just said what I'm saying. But the point I'm making is I don't own anything. It's just like the same people that talk shit about me end up copying me. The same stupid Republican accounts. No offense. I'm not calling Republicans stupid. I'm just saying these same accounts that were talking shit about me all last year for what I was saying about Operation Warp Speed, they're now using the Charlie meme with the football. It's like, yeah, all these people who are now we've lost it. It's like, yeah, oh yeah. Talk to me in a year, okay? It's so funny. I'm like, they're anomalies working for Mossad. Only Mossad would want to keep the economy open and have freedom in America. The Constitution, and then like 3 months later, they're like, you know what? Maybe Ellen's not getting arrested. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? Am I wrong though? These people, do you not follow these accounts like the Q people? Pedophilia is real. Human trafficking is real. I'm not talking down on that. It's very real. It's underreported, and I appreciate that they know that. But as far as like they tried to tell Trump supporters that Ellen DeGeneres was on house arrest during the lockdown, I'm like, you're all on house arrest. How do you not know? Like, you don't need to lock down the country in order to arrest Ellen DeGeneres. You don't need to lock down the country to stop Tom Hanks from flying. Oh, the lockdowns are for Italy. The Vatican's getting arrested. Anomaly, you're so ignorant. The borders are getting closed. You think America has to lock 300 million people in their houses to arrest Ellen DeGeneres at a mansion? Like, you've lost your freaking mind. Like, well, do you not believe in human trafficking? What does human trafficking have to do with the fact that you think Ellen DeGeneres is on house arrest when you're on house arrest? And those same people, I'm just being honest, those same people that cried about what I said then, they thought Joe Biden and all these people were going to get locked up. A lot of them went to the Capitol and they got locked up. I'm like, the people you think were getting locked up never got locked up. You got locked in your house for 3 months, and then you followed Grandpa Moderna, the vaccine salesman, to the Capitol on January 6th, and then you got arrested. Like, this, it's not my fault for pointing this shit out. I'm like, I didn't want that to happen, but you guys talk shit about me all year. You show up to Grandpa Moderna's vaccine rally at the Capitol, and you get arrested. And then I get a freaking phone call like, I'm like, you kidding? Now you guys are getting me in trouble because you guys can't stay out of trouble. Like, it's like now they're trying to act like this was the craziest event in modern history, and everybody 6 degrees of separation. They're showing up to like grandma's houses and shit. It's like, this isn't a big conspiracy theory. A bunch of freaking Trump supporters went to support the guy they liked, ended up in Washington, and a bunch of idiots did stupid crap, and it just got weird, and there was weird stuff on both sides, but in general, they're trying to act like this was Vietnam. Like, I'm getting a phone call, like I know something about it. It's like, what everyone, now I'm getting in trouble because a bunch of people followed Grandpa Moderna to the vaccine capital, to the Capitol. Like, it's freaking annoying. I'm like, I just want to be left alone. But now it's like they're using the Patriot Act. They're like, what's Tucker Carlson doing? Like, leave Tucker Carlson alone. We got 99 problems in this country. Tucker Carlson's not one of them. They're like, well, they need a big event. They're like Charlottesville. It's like Charlottesville was like 30 far right people, having a protest and clashing with or 50. I don't even know how many people were there. It's not like that. They're like, this is the World War II. It's like, no, January 6th was not a great day. But it's not World War I. Figure out who broke into people's offices and committed crimes. Let them go to court for the crimes that they actually committed, and leave everyone else the hell alone. Now they're trying to use it and destroy the right wing with that event, and it's annoying because it not only affects me, but it also affects all of us. Like, when you're moving like that, they're looking for ways to set people up. It's creepy, but it's like, the media hates you. You know, a lot of people at these agencies, like they don't like you, or whoever's giving them orders, they don't like you. So it's like, you want to try to be extra smart. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Like I'm not acting like but I'm like certain things. I'm like, let's not do that. Like people are like, with Arizona, it's going to happen. I'm like this. It reminds me of January. I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but they're like, he's coming back. I'm like, please do not do what happened in January. Like, don't show up to some freaking event and go bananas again, because it's gonna get really weird. I don't know what's gonna happen, but people are like, dude, we need to go. I'm like, please do not do that. They so badly want you guys to do a Charlottesville or a January 6th. They'll act like they don't, but that brings fundraising. These politicians, without these big events, they don't make money. They need Orange Man bad. Capital. If you watch a Gavin Newsom recall, by the way, support the recall. It's up to you, but I am. His whole ad is like, January 6th, like a bunch of racists went to the Capitol, Jim Crow voting laws. I'm like, what the hell am I watching? Like he has no platform because he's not really doing anything. His platform is the right wing is Jim Crow with the vote. They just want ID. Republicans are right about voter ID. It makes no sense what the left wants to do. Jim Crow, January 6th. Like you think you're watching like Pearl Harbor or something. It's like they need that in order, and it's not like you could stop them because they'll lie about stuff, but they'll act like they don't want you to. They love that secretly because they make money out. Like no one wants to vote. If everything was calm, no one would vote for these people, but they convince them. They're like, remember Charlottesville? It's like 99.999999999% of Trump supporters were not at Charlottesville and probably wouldn't have even known about it if it wasn't covered on the television. Like I guarantee you the average Trump supporter doesn't even know a single person that went there or even why they were even there in the first place. So they love a good, like, oh my God, George Floyd, how much money did they make? $100 million plus. Act Blue. Oh, George Floyd died. So, donate to us. It's sick what these people do, but it is what it is. I'm not saying it's everybody's fault. I'm just saying I found it really odd that the people who thought everyone else was going to get locked up went to the cap. Like it's a little game they're playing, but I don't know. That's just my thought. I was trying to make light of an unfortunate situation. God bless you guys. God bless your family. I stayed too long, but it's been a long time. So it's been nice to chat. Appreciate it. Someone said this is our fault collectively. It's true. If we all take accountability, we'll win, but I'm optimistic. Above all the little back and forth, whatever we had today, I seriously think people are tired of this stuff. I think the left is tired of it. The right's tired of it. The maskies, the vaxies, the non-jabbies, like whatever you want to call them, the jabberwockies. Everybody's like, okay, we did what we had to do. Leave us alone. And if enough people do their part and just say no peacefully, respectfully, legally, just put your foot down in some way, because these people are like psychopaths. Like, how in the world are you going to make everyone get a vaccine and then tell them to put a mask back on their face? Like, excuse my language, but like, F these people. I don't care if you got it or not, if you're left wing or right wing. Like, it's time to like let these people, make these people stop, get them to leave you alone, because they're never going to leave you alone. They'll sell a booster for the rest of they'll put you in a mask till you're like 55 years old. If you're 55 till you're 85. If you're 85, you get it. Whatever. I'm over it. God bless you. But I am optimistic. I think last week was weird, but in a weird way, I think they pissed off a lot of people who got the vaccine. And I think that's a good thing, because when people who got it realize that they're not special boys and girls, that they're going to get locked down again, it makes you think. And unfortunately, that's what it takes. But God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Thank you guys so much. Check out my clips channel, and I'll be back with a lot of videos soon. Thank you guys for sharing my videos when I was gone. It was great to come back and realize that I did even better last week without being here. God is great. And I won't say most importantly, because God is probably more important, but thank you to you guys. I couldn't do it without you. Thank you guys for sharing, watching, etc. Even if you get mad at me, that's fine. Just after the stream, we'll call it even and we'll move on. All right. Have a good one, guys. Take care.